anything. Oh, you know why?
Here we are, Sturgis, Bud Light Tent midweek. Any improvement? That's what we hope. Folds of Honor is here. The Bud Light Tent, we're hoping business picks up a little bit, but guys, midweek, oh my goodness. Wow. Guys, are we seeing any uptick in business here? A little bit, okay. Okay. All right, we're seeing, hey, let's keep it positive, right? Let's keep it positive. Maybe by the end of the week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing what you're doing. We appreciate the hardworking employees. We covered this early on in the week, guys. Take a look. Sturgis is absolutely jam-packed. The Harley tent is packed. The BMW tent is packed. But Budweiser having a tough go. Having a tough go. There must be a whole lot of beer left over in there. I don't know what to say, but might be too soon.
Well, there you go. If you happen to be at Sturgis, where there's thousands and thousands of people and you need a little peace and quiet, just head over to the Anheuser-Busch area.
What was that? What was going on there?
Budweiser, you know, is teamed up with Harley trying to rebuild their name, and they're at Sturgis. They have a whole setup there, a booth. And it is the only part of Sturgis that's a complete ghost town.
Nice try, bud. Nice try.
Yeah, they're working at it. They're working at it. What I love is they're asking the guy sitting there working the booth. They're like, "So have things picked up a little bit?" And he's like, just this big grin goes, yeah, right." couldn't happen to a better corporation here. So quite the week we have. From what I understand, there is a new special prosecutor for the illustrious son of a president. What's going on?
That guy, David Weiss? Who's the prosecutor?
The guy, David Weiss. And from what I understand, David Weiss is the individual who actually approved the sweetheart deal for Hunter Biden.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, that's how you do it. You definitely enforce the authority and turn things around by saying, okay, who's the one who sold their soul? Okay, well, he'll be the prosecutor.
Dude, you know, they don't cease to amaze me in their just brazen obviousness. And it's, again, the question is, which is being answered every week, is it ineptitude or is it intentional? You know, that's really the question of 2020, the decade, I don't know, the 20s. You know, is this stuff ineptitude or is it Marxist intentionality driving an intentional train?
Yeah, I mean, it goes to, what is it? Essentially, Adam Carolla's saying that he said for a while, stupid or liar?
Well, again, I don't know if it's liar, but yeah, if you want to associate the Marxist with lying as one of their tools, like I said, I don't know if we talked about it last week, but the American Library Association elected a president. It oversees all the librarians and libraries of the nation. I'm not sure what power that has. I guess it's a regulatory. So I don't know if it's a regulatory agency.
Kind of trade, kind of a trade organization.
But I mean, but it's trade. But all of the libraries are public, so I don't know where trade organization would come in. That's
right.
Trade organization would seem like something that oversees the alcoholic beverages of America or something. You know what I mean? But
there's no direct control. Like they raise money to raise awareness, and then they have like lists and things. So it's more of an assistant. I don't think, you know, my wife was a librarian and I've been to the conference before. I don't think there's any kind of like direct control. It's more of like a stamp of approval, if you will.
Okay. Well, I don't know if she's into book buying or recommendations or lists or approval or any of that stuff. But the first thing she did when she got the job, came out and said she was an avowed Marxist. Now, I don't know who does that. I mean, do you come out and say I'm a Jew? You come out and say I'm an American? Do you come out and say I'm a union member? I mean, she came out and is literally telling us, all of these people are telling us that they're Marxists and they're going to dismantle the stuff that's beneath them. At some point, we've got to do something. That's why I was putting up this week about McCarthy era 2.0. And I don't mean Kevin McCarthy. I mean Senator McCarthy of the 1950s. We need McCarthy hearings once again. Now, keep in mind, the McClellan Committee had both Kennedy brothers on it. In back of McCarthy, if anyone wants to ridicule or criticize McCarthy, there were two Kennedys sitting in back of him on that committee, folks. So we need a McCarthy era 2.0 to begin to push back against these cats. Now, it could be Matt Gaetz is McCarthy. I don't really care who McCarthy is. It could be Jim Jordan. But somebody has got to begin just going through profession by profession. Keep in mind, McCarthy went after the military. He went after Hollywood. He went after the education groups. He went after the unions. We need that again. Now, you can ridicule McCarthy all you want, but the reality of it is he was a total alcoholic and died an alcoholic death. You know, but that's a separate issue from what his policy intentional aspects of his committee was trying to do. The Hollywood 10, for all their awards that they've received, were screenwriters in Hollywood, like I've been for many, many years, what were their crimes, you say? What did they do? You receive notes from screenplays when you're working in the studio system, or you're working with a producer, or you're working with anybody. You get notes. You get notes on your script once you turn in your script, and you implement the notes. You fight over the notes, depending on what the notes are. They could be crazy. They could be simple, blah, blah, blah. The studio will give you notes, and this is not even an exaggeration, what I call blue pants notes, where the guy's wearing green pants in a scene and they want it to be blue pants. It's meaningless stuff. You know, they just want to exert their power, exert their control, put an Asian guy in a scene. Just really meaningless crap. However, the reason I mention that is because the Hollywood 10 were getting notes from Moscow. That's right, the Soviet Union. They had a guy on the ground in Hollywood who was the guy who was a Russian agent who worked with the screenwriters to implement the notes from the Kremlin. Now, think about what I just told you, folks, because that is why the Hollywood 10 went to jail. They technically went to jail for contempt of Congress, but they went to jail because they were receiving notes from the Kremlin on how to shape their scripts to put the Moscow world and the Kremlin world into a better light for American movies. You think that's something we should have? I think we got to get back in there today and start doing this, because the Chinese, for instance, are killing us in film. They're making us take films out. They're editing films. They're giving notes to the screenwriters. Nobody knows this, but the product that comes out the other end, I'm just talking about Hollywood, but it's pervasive through American society now. We need to route this out. We got to roll up our sleeves, get in there, and this is through Gaetz or Jordan or whoever you want to pick. But what they fear is the bright lights of a congressional hearing. I know that sounds like nothing to people who are sarcastic and cynical today, and I'm one of them, but there's something about taking a Zuckerberg and putting his fat ass in that seat and having him being grilled by people who are opposed to his policies. It works, people, and that's what we need to do in education. We need to drag the fat ass of whoever runs Harvard into that seat, whoever runs the studios into that seat, whoever runs the unions and the library system. Get this Marxist librarian under oath. What do you intend to do, lady? You're an avowed Marxist who has called for the overthrow of the United States government, and now you're the head of the American Library Association. It may be symbolic, but it ain't symbolic to me. I mean, there are books being... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I totally agree. And actually, that has been done to a point. Now, we don't like everything that Christopher Rufo has said, but he's been very good on the CRT front, critical race training. And it's hilarious because he was on with Joy Reid, right? And what was the first thing she was trying to say? Oh, well, that's not CRT. We don't do CRT. I don't know what CRT is. So I think that you are right. They need to put the label on these people and say, oh, you're a Marxist. You're this. What is that? What you're Marxist? Do you believe in this? Do you believe in Soviet? You want the 40 million people to die? And literally get them to run. They do run from their own terms when you pin them. with that term. And I think that you're dead on in front of Congress, literally to say, you're this. This is the teaching. Is this what you're saying? This is what you want? You want this? You want this? You want this? And they'll be like, no, I'm not. I'm a democratic socialist, really.
Bullshit.
Exactly.
Let's have it out. Let's get it on. I want to read you from a book. Bear with me. I want to read you 45 current communist goals. Now, the current communist goals were written in 1958. I just want you to hear the goals in 1958. You tell me if any of these at all, out of the 45, if you could just bear with me on this. I think you'll find it interesting. These are the goals written in 1958. And well, let's see how many of these came true. Number one, U.S. acceptance of coexistence as the only alternative to atomic war. 2, U.S. willingness to capitulate in preference to engaging in atomic war. 3, develop the illusion that total disarmament by the United States would be a demonstration of moral strength. 4, permit free trade between all nations, regardless of communist affiliation and regardless of whether or not items could be used for war. 5, extension of long-term loans to Russia and Soviet satellites. 6, provide American aid to all nations regardless of communist domination. 7, grant recognition of Red China, admission of Red China to the United Nations. 8, set up East and West Germany as separate states in spite of Khrushchev's promise in 1955 to settle the Germany question by free elections under supervision of the UN. Keep in mind, this is 1958, folks. 9, prolong the conferences to ban atomic tests because the U.S. has agreed to suspend tests as long as negotiations are in progress. 10, allow all Soviet satellites individual representation in the United Nations. Satellites meaning Lithuania, Estonia, Romania, Czechoslovakia, on and on and on. Promote the UN as the only hope for mankind. If its charter is rewritten, demand that it be set up as a one world government with its own independent armed forces. C, communist leaders believe the world can be taken over as easily by the UN. 12, resist any attempt to outlaw the Communist Party. 13, do away with all loyalty oaths. 14, continue to give Russia access to U.S. Patent Office. 15, capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. They've got one. 16, use technical decisions of the courts to weaken basic American institutions by claiming their activities violate civil rights. Unending. 17, get control of the schools, Eric. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Get control of teachers' associations, like the American Library Association. Put the party line in textbooks. 18, gain control of all student newspapers. 19, use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations which are under communist attack. 20, infiltrate the press, Eric. Get control of book review assignments, editorial writing, and policy-making positions. 21, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures, aka Joy Reid. 22, continue discrediting American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. An American communist cell was told to eliminate all good sculpture from the parks and buildings, substitute shapeless, awkward, meaningless forms. BLM, tearing down statues all across the country. 23, control art critics and directors of art museums, as we explained in the JFK thing with what's-his-face, who ended up at the Chicago Institute of Technology, the art guy who dealt with Maureen Oswald. 24, eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and free press, which has happened with these children's books right now. Same thing, with the gay children's books. 25, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography, Eric, and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. That's been done. 26, present homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. 27, infiltrate the churches and replace a revealed religion with social religion, Eric. Discredit the Bible and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity, which does not need a religious crutch, quote unquote. 28, eliminate prayer, any phase of religious expression in the schools. Keep in mind, this is 1958, folks, on the grounds that it violates the principle of separation of church and state. 29, discredit the American Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, a hindrance to cooperation between nations on a worldwide basis. 30, discredit the American founding fathers. How many times have we heard this recently? Present them as selfish aristocrats who had no concern.
Slave owners.
What?
Slave owners.
Right, no concern for the common man. 31, belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teaching of American history on the grounds that it was only a minor part of the big picture. Give more emphasis to Russian and communist history when they took over. 32, support any socialist movements to give centralized control over any part of the culture, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, etc. There's a battle here in New York. They went in LA. They went after the Board of Health, hired Adam Schiff's guy as the communication director secretly. And while COVID was going on, he was ordered to go after all media behind the scenes with Twitter, Facebook, and social media to shut down any complaints about the COVID policies coming out of the Board of Health, not the government, the Board of Health. Keep that in mind. 33, eliminate all laws and procedures that interfere with the operation of the communist apparatus. 34, eliminate the House Committee on American Activities, which I think should be reinvigorated. 35, discredit and eventually dismantle the FBI. They flipped that one around. 36, infiltrate and gain control of more unions. 37, infiltrate and gain control of big business. We've seen that now with what Eric was pointing out with Mulvaney and Bud Light. They've got that with the ESG. 38, transfer some of the powers of arrest from the police to social agencies, Hunley. Treat all behavioral problems as psychiatric disorders, which no one but psychiatrists can understand or treat, certainly not police. How have we seen that? 39, dominate the psychiatric profession, Eric, and use mental health laws as a means of gaining coercive control over those who oppose communist goals. It's illegal here in the state of California to discuss transgender issues with a patient. They completely control it through licensure, as Barnes has railed about for many years.
In Canada, they do it for
Canada,
the entire the entire country. Jordan Peterson has railed about it. They literally have to affirm any patient's claim of transgenderism. So if you go in, you cannot say you might have gender, or psychiatrists cannot say you may have gender dysphoria. We may need to look at your background. They have to reaffirm it and say, oh, you're a girl. Yes, you are, by law.
Number 40, discredit the family as an institution, Eric. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. This was done by BLM on their website from the beginning to discredit the nuclear family and destroy it. 41, emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influences of parents. What have we seen in the past 3 years? This is a battle royale to the death between the state and the parents. Attribute prejudices, mental blocks, and retarding of children to suppressive influence of parents. In other words, the parents are bigots if they're opposed to their 12-year-old girl having genital mutilation. 42, create the impression that violence and insurrection are legitimate aspects of the American tradition. This would be Antifa, that students, special interest groups should rise up and use united force, again, Antifa and student movement, to solve economic, political, and social problems. 43, overthrow all colonial governments before native populations are ready for self-government. Let's look at what's going on in Africa right now. 44, internationalize the Panama Canal. And 45, repeal the Connolly Reservation so the U.S. cannot prevent the World Court from seizing jurisdiction over domestic problems, give the World Court jurisdiction over nations and individuals alike. That's what Jack Smith was doing over there in the International Court in The Hague when he was putting people on trial from the war that was going on in Belgrade. Anyway, so this is written by, this is from The Naked Communist, a book that I strongly recommend by Skousen, and there's much more to this. This is from the people who have donated to the book fund through PayPal. This is where your money's going, folks. I just want people to think about that. I'm sorry for reading it for so long, but there's much more in the book. There's much more in other books, but the reality of it is that's what they've achieved or wanted to achieve since 1958. And most of those, you could check that list off. You know, most of those have been successful. That's not his list, that's their list. So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there for people to think about it over the weekend.
And watch Plandemic 3, by the way, if you haven't already, because it's very similar, not the same thing, that he's discussing throughout the whole movie and showing demonstrations of one thing after another. I mean, we don't even have to see a demonstration. Most of us can sit there and think in our mind of that. Like, And one other parallel, you talked about separating the children from the parents. Well, did you know that in Scientology, they have something called the Sea Org? And the Sea Org are the ones who signed the billion-year contract. Do you know what happens to their children? Because they do have children. Their children are separated from their parents to be raised correctly by the church. So if anybody is wondering what's going on, let's just go take a look at an organization that some have called a cult and go,
well,
doesn't that work?
I'm not here to battle Scientology. I mean, there's a lot of stuff about Scientology that's anti-big pharma that I actually agree with. So my battle is with the communists at this point. We have other fish to fry. I can't really take on, nor do I.
No, I'm not taking on. I'm just pointing out as an example. In China, they separated the parents.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
It's a common
thing. And again, this is obviously years before the collapse of the Soviet Union. So I mean, whatever he's saying in there is applicable to communist China today because it's the same deal. You know, the same thing could be applicable to Cuba, to communist totalitarian Cuba, which a lot of people gave a shit about. How dare you want to take down Castro? How dare you want to assassinate this guy? How dare you want to topple a communist regime 90 miles off the coast of Florida that forced, because of weakness, and I don't know, you know, what methods you want to take them out under, but, you know, banning peanut butter from going to Castro's Cuba apparently did not do the job. So these people were forced to live under a totalitarian regime 90 miles off the coast of Florida because nobody had the fucking balls to go and take this guy down. And or enforce a mega boycott or do a stuff that, I mean, look what they did to Russia in the past 2 years in terms of sanctions, and yet none of that, for the most part, was used against Cuba. You know, here you have this whole thing with Russia and Ukraine and everything else, but nobody other than banning travel to Castro's Cuba, everything else was coming in from Europe for decades. Everything that they needed was mostly up until the 90s, the early 90s, from the Soviet Union that propped them up. But all I care about is the people who did not escape, because the ones that did escape and got to Miami are some of the most patriotic Americans that we have today. I feel for the people who couldn't get out of there, who 90 miles from Florida had to live for 2 entire generations under the jackboot of totalitarianism. And nobody ever fucking mentions that. And you know what? It's a crock and a crime. And those poor sons of bitches who had to live under Castro's regime, not in Bulgaria, you know, which was freed in 1991 or 1989, you know, when the wall came down, but 90 miles off the coast of Florida. That's outrageous. It really is outrageous. And all the talk in Operation Mongoose with Bill Harvey and RFK trying these half-assed things with Johnny Roselli to kill Castro. I mean, most of that ended in 1962 with the Cuban Missile Crisis. That was part of the deal that Khrushchev extracted, that we would not invade the island of Cuba. And it's because he forced our hand with this missile thing, quite a chess move on the part of Khrushchev. And that's why the Soviets were able to get the missiles out of Turkey and to breathe a little bit easier because of these chess moves that they made on us. And everybody's celebrating this incredible extrication by the Kennedys of this thing. Well, there was a price to pay for that. And you say, well, the world wasn't destroyed, Mark. You know, at least we weren't destroyed. You know, there's other stakes that are a little bit lower than world destroyed. You know what I mean?
True. But before we get too deep into the show, I do have good news, man. Everybody, Mark's sound is a little off because we had some technical issues, so Mark is on his phone. But that brings us to today's sponsor. We have a sponsor, Mark, and it's a new sponsor.
What?
Yeah, check it out. Today's video is sponsored by Mint Mobile. Have you ever wondered, why is my wireless bill so freaking high?
Right?
Ryan's right. It is a trap. But you can escape this trap with Mint Mobile, which offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. All plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, lightning fast 5G, and free mobile hotspot. They also offer super affordable family plans with as little as 2 lines. Mint Mobile is built on the nation's largest 5G network, but keeps its costs low because they sell to you directly online cutting out any stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more money for access to the same network? Switching over is easy. Thanks to the digital eSIM cards, you can actually sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. If your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card for free. And now, as a special limited time offer, you can get their unlimited plan, which is normally only $30 a month, for just $15 a month. That's 50% savings off their already super low price. Check them out at trymintmobile.com/unstructured and start saving some money today. All right. Yep.
What was that? What was it, like a phone company or something?
Yep. Mint Mobile. It's a spinoff that is owned by Ryan Reynolds. And
What?
essentially,
Really?
yeah, he still owns it, but he sold it to T-Mobile, so he kind of has control. The guy's in all kinds of
This guy
stuff.
Ryan Reynolds has got his fingers. Was he on a soccer team in England?
Now, yeah, he had Aviation Gin, but it's a pretty cool deal. I mean, the whole deal is
What's
it's like
the deal?
$15 a month for unlimited coverage for a cell phone. So you're getting essentially the same coverage as T-Mobile at half the price because you're not going to the store or anything.
Right.
So, I
And
mean,
the voicemail is Ryan Reynolds on your phone, on the phone itself, or you could put your own voicemail on there.
I think you could do both.
But you
I
get
don't
it
know.
when you get the phone. It's a Ryan Reynolds phone, or no?
No,
He's
it's just Mint Mobile. He just happens to own the company. It's like Aviation Gin.
He owns this.
at the
This guy Ryan Reynolds, the actor, owns this company.
He did.
This guy's unbelievable. You know, it's so funny because I said to someone the other day, this is about a month ago, I said, what the hell happened to Ryan Reynolds? Where'd he go? And then we looked into it, myself and a friend, and we're going, holy crap, Ryan Reynolds owns this, he owns that, he owns this. I mean, here's a guy who is an investor who's smart with his own money. Now, maybe a guy named Woody Harrelson is not as smart as Ryan Reynolds. Woody Harrelson had the weed wonder to put on the RFK Jr. 24 hat with Cheryl Hines this week down at Venice Beach, where the future, maybe, I don't know how he gets there, president of the United States, RFK Jr. was working out on the rings.
Oh, I
at
saw
Venice
that.
Beach, the monkey rings. I don't know. There's monkey rings there, and you go from one to the other. He's obviously in incredible shape.
Yeah, he is. I saw it.
It's making me nervous. That being said, he got an endorsement from a guy named Woody Harrelson. Well, Hollywood, you would think that Hollywood, had somebody, like George Clooney endorsed Adolf Hitler. I mean, the blowback, and the blowback against Cheryl Hines was so cruel and so vicious, Eric. Going into looks and everything else, the vicious body shaming that they claim that we shouldn't body shame, but they do whenever they want to.
Oh, of course they do.
Side note, this just in, Lizzo banned from Super Bowl halftime. Now back to the show. So they go after, one of the vicious quotes was, her husband is anti-vax except for Botox, which he injects into her face. Stuff at that level. This is from Hollywood insiders. This is from Hollywood itself, going after Cheryl and Woody Harrelson now, because he put on the RFK 24 hat and
you would think it was a MAGA hat by the reaction.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. You would think he was MAGA by the way he put on that RFK 24 hat and posed with Cheryl Hines. I don't know what the blowback's going to be on this. Apparently they're on strike, and anything can happen. If you're a celebrity director, you get to have your movie go get a green light. If you're not, you're into the shitter. So apparently they're writing passes for cats who are big, so everyone could work and not be on strike. But if you're not Michael Mann, they just did one with Michael Mann for Ferrari, and they said, okay, it's Michael Mann, let's give him a pass, we're on strike.
It's an independent movie.
Yeah, it's an independent Michael Mann movie, for Christ's sakes, with a $900 million budget.
Well, I think I saw something on it that they're pulling a little stunt where they're saying, as long as you're not making it for a streamer, if you make it as a normal movie and you could try selling it later, but as long, it's obviously parsing words.
It's such a crock, Eric.
My God.
That movie will end up as a streamer, won't even have a theatrical release.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know that, and I know that. 90%
of these movies do not have theatrical releases, by the way, folks. They're all streamers, and the revenue battle is over streaming revenue. And it's somebody's got to come up with an equation. They're sitting down again this week. I don't know what's going on. I mean, the reality of it is they kind of got to come up with a math equation to pay everybody for how many streams are used. Now, how are you supposed to come up with that? I don't know. Apparently, Netflix keeps it like a military secret, you know, how many people stream a certain movie. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think there could be a solution to this, though.
Well, it's an algorithm that's the solution. It's not going to be.
Well, no. I was thinking that, I mean, HBO has been doing this forever. Okay, they managed to make product. Everybody gets paid. Nobody's bitching about HBO, and I think it might be a rights conversion. Like Netflix says, here's $50 million. You make me this product or whatever, and we have it exclusively for a year or 2 years, whatever it is. And then after that time, the rights can revert. It can go to DVD or whatever else it is, and then they can pick up the residuals on that over time. Because HBO, for example, they would, you know, run it on HBO, and then they famously sell DVDs of like The Sopranos and other things. And I think that was a secondary source of revenue. So maybe that could be a model. I don't know.
Well, it's not a traceable model anymore. That's the whole point. They kicked it down the road 20 years ago when they said this is not going to be something that's going to be big. And now it's the only thing. So, I mean, mathematically, how do you in other words, I get checks from films that run on airplanes, right? I don't know. I get a check for like $1. You know, there's some film I did that runs on an airplane. Even airplanes are traceable because that was a window. Airplanes was the last window of theatrical release, multiple windows of theatrical release. One of them is television, and the new one is streaming. But that window is hard to mathematically get your arms around in terms of how many streamings around the world are happening day and night. I mean, unless they're willing to open their books, their technological books, which they don't seem to be willing to do, to show their formula on how to do this. Now, keep in mind, these are just subscription model companies, Eric. You know, I mean, these are companies that are doing subscription models that you're paying by the month. You know, unless they want to give people a piece of that subscription thing, which they don't, because that's their only revenue. I don't know how this is resolved. Their revenue comes from Netflix, let's say, be simplistic, $9.99 a month. That's Netflix revenue. That's it. That's all they get. Now, they're not paying out anybody, you know, for these other things. They may buy films or rent films, but they don't even do that anymore. If you look at Netflix, there are no first-run movies on Netflix. They pay less than $600,000 or $300,000. Most documentaries on there, 50 grand, my friends, 50 grand.
Sure.
And the rights to old television shows, which you can buy. Even Steve Bannon has the rights. People don't realize to Seinfeld. Steve Bannon famously or quietly bought the serialization rights to Seinfeld. He had the business acumen to do that. And that was told to me by his partner, who I know, Jeff Quantinez, who used to manage Korn, by the way, came out of New Jersey managing Korn as a music manager, ended up with partnering with Steve Bannon, and actually came to his defense early on when Bannon was under attack, even though Quantinez is a lefty. Yeah, interesting, odd couple together in a film company that they had together. But at some point in that relationship, Bannon bought the rights to Seinfeld. Not many people know that.
Wow. Speaking of buying rights, we have a $200 Rumble rant. Somebody's trying to buy the rights to our show here. A Wolfer is back and has a question for $200.
Tell him what he wants, Bob.
Will Ziggy be creating a Team Groubert folding chair as a gift for the Montgomery meetup? Will it include a user self-defense manual from the Chamber of Commerce?
That's funny. You know, you can make those director chairs with people's names on it. You can get them customized, that, you know, director chairs with your name on it, which is kind of fun. You know, just to have that. And, if that's not her business, but just in general. Yeah, Montgomery is going to be fun. I mean, yesterday the phones went out in Alabama just to show what we're up against. I don't know. I think they have twisters down there, Hunley.
Well, it was 2 weeks in a row because the week before your show got cut up by interruptions from the national weather.
Right. So, I think it's because of twisters. I mean, I don't know what's going on in Maui. That kind of burned to the ground. I don't know how that fire started. The entire island, Lahaina, the region that most of us go to from Hollywood, is gone. Is completely torched. I mean, Oprah's out there throwing rubber tires away, with the help of Jeff Bezos. But man, oh man, that's an upscale area there that's just been completely devastated in Maui.
Wow, no, I've seen that. It's just so sad. I mean, that is.
I mean, I don't want to sound crazy, but the residents had to flee into the ocean like it was Pompeii with a volcano. Okay, 911 went out immediately. There was no 911 service, just in case people think, hey, what would happen if the grid went down in California? You think there'd be any chaos? Dude, it would be Mad Max for weeks and months until a grid would be restored. Look what happened in Maui this past week. They had to flee into the ocean to survive a fire in their town. Okay.
Well, it's a nightmare. They're not going to run inland. I mean,
no, I know, but I'm saying Maui's been there a long time. Unless there's been a volcano, and that's why I'm saying, Vesuvius or something, or what happened, with the people in Italy originally. Wow. What? No, there's no 911, folks.
Yeah, no, it's a horrible, horrible tragedy. There is, however, you shared out an article I saw on that earlier that's just kind of a wild miracle of this church.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow
church, unscathed, right in the middle of the devastation, completely unscathed, the Catholic Church in Maui.
Which is just so crazy. It must be the exact right distance away from whatever.
No, it's directly in the center of town. And the banyan, not to be confused with Steve Bannon, there's these banyan trees that are very famous that seemingly survived, although charred. But that's in the center of Maui. And it's just, they're calling it the Maui miracle, that it survived this devastation there. That looks like, the first thing I said to Eric, I said, it looks like the firebombing of Tokyo. It's just incredible devastation there. And yeah, again, I think, obviously it's an island off of the United States, but still part of our country. But I think what we're seeing repeatedly now, if I could just generalize, is the complete collapse of the infrastructure of the United States, because we've taken out money at trillions and trillions of dollars and sent it to places like Ukraine to fight strange wars. We can't sustain this economically. You can't keep running a mega state like the United States with the complete collapse of infrastructure and sending your money out of the country nonstop for year after year after year after year after year. Now, that being said, at the bottom of the country, where RFK Jr. went down to the other day at the border, he interviewed a number of different border officials, the same guys you see on Fox when Tucker was on, kind of the same guys. They took him on the little tour. And he did a little mini doc for about 10, 12-minute documentary, and then had a press conference. And the press conference was all these lefties asking him, are you going to fix the reason that these people are coming from Grenada and or from Costa Rica and El Salvador? And to his credit, RFK Jr. said what they told him. Of the 300 people that came in while he was there, 300 came in just while he was there visiting, 300 for a couple minutes. One was from Costa Rica seeking amnesty. The rest were from Africa, China, Estonia, Kazakhstan, and Eastern Europe. And nobody from anywhere else. All of them there verbally saying we're here for work. The one Costa Rican said he was there for amnesty, and all of them were given appearance tickets and split. And then he interviewed the woman who gave them airline tickets to New York. This is all in the documentary that RFK posted on his Twitter page yesterday. He spoke to the woman. He says, what happens to them now? She says, well, we get them airline tickets to New York and we're reimbursed by FEMA. And she said, all of these Africans? He said, yeah. So then you cut to New York, where there's a hotel on the Upper West Side where I used to live. And next door to the hotel is a luxury condo building that Lady Gaga's father lives in. Lady Gaga's father is a famous restaurateur in New York, in case anybody doesn't know that. I forget her Italian last name, his name. However, next door, they put 900 Africans in a hotel, okay, next to this upscale condo. And the Africans are out on the street all night, drinking and partying and harassing people. And now Lady Gaga's father has formed a vigilante group of men from the Upper West Side to do battle with the Africans. Now, the Africans have come from Africa, somehow to Mexico, walked across the border, and been given airline tickets to New York. And this is what the Biden administration is intentionally doing, folks. This is not some random thing. Only one person in the entire time that RFK was down there came from Central America. And in the press conference, they kept asking him, are you going to fix the problems in Central America? And to his credit, RFK said, you're looking at an old model that doesn't exist anymore. And they didn't know what to say, Hunley, because the Marxists who were asking him this question wanted to help and rebuild these countries in Central America that have been destroyed and decimated by Marxism. And he didn't take that. He didn't take that bait. He pushed back on it, which was very nice of him to do that. I don't know how that solves the problem other than closing the borders. One border official showed him this huge gap in the wall. And he said the first day of the Biden administration, we got an executive order to stop construction on the wall. There's a huge gaping hole. And he says they're pouring in through here day and night. He says, not an accident, intentionally signed executive order by the Biden administration to stop the construction of the wall.
Well, and on that note, by the way, of ruining Central and South America, Jesus, I think it's Royos, body language guy, posted something. It's like in the late 50s or 60s, Venezuela was the 4th richest country in the world.
Yep.
And he said, now I think there's only like 10% who don't live in abject poverty or some really extremely low number. He said, what is the one thing they've had? He said, a socialist leader every election since.
Right. Somebody smarter than me, which I really jumped on hearing that, said socialism is like a parasite that lives off the body that it sucks the life out of until it moves on to the next body. The parasite of socialism sucked the life and economics out of Venezuela and then moved on to the next country. Lula in Brazil, despite what Barnes said, has completely gone socialist, completely gone Marxist. Bolsonaro obviously fled. Lula's now implementing draconian socialist policies and totalitarian style government in Brazil. So that country's gone, bro. Bolsonaro was the last Trump hope of that country, which leads us to Khan, the Trump of Pakistan, who this week it was revealed that we wrote a letter to Pakistani officials saying he must be removed from office for us to continue to aid Pakistan. He was immediately arrested and put in jail at the request of the State Department of the United States. And you tell me what kind of world we're living in where the United States can order the arrest of a leader of Pakistan and put in prison because we didn't like his politics. And the politics we didn't like was his desire to remain neutral in the Ukraine-Russia war. That's why he had to be arrested and removed from office. And the Pakistanis carried it out. The letter was released by The Intercept, and multiple sources have now gotten the letter. Why they would put this in writing is, of course, beyond me. Is it ineptitude or is it brazenness, which is the old question? I don't know. Maybe they just feel emboldened. They don't give a shit. But they literally took out a leader of another country simply by writing a letter now.
It's kind of like a former vice president demanding a prosecutor get fired.
What are you trying to say?
And we got a $50 Rumble rant with JHNS. So disappointed in history classes I had. Thank you very much.
You get that theme a lot with this channel. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, I would take those old history classes anytime over, teaching what they're teaching now in schools and colleges, which is just propaganda and CRT stuff. I would take those old inadequate, Monroe Doctrine, and we're going to go over the Monroe Doctrine for a day or two. Remember, Eric? We're going to go over Seward's Folly up in Alaska. By the way, Dan Bongino is saying there's going to be some action on Taiwan. I don't know where he's getting this sources from, but he's very adamant about it, Bongino. Talking about the military war games that China and Russia are carrying out off the coast of Alaska. Some people are poo-pooing that, saying it happens all the time. I'm not sure. I'm just putting it out there. And I want to put out something else, which is another rumor that I'm hearing in California. And this is just a rumor, folks, so don't hold me to it. The rumor is there's going to be a guy running for the U.S. Senate to go up against Adam Schiff and this group that's trying to replace the soon-to-be dead Dianne Feinstein, who may be dead already. I mean, Weekend at Bernie's 3 is being made by me with its Weekend at Diane's 3, where she's already dead and the aides are propping her up. The aides around Feinstein, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know this, are Pelosi relatives and other Newsom people and everybody else. That they're not just random people who are around Dianne Feinstein. The reason she's being kept alive by artificial means and being put on life support is because they are controlling that Senate seat, and which is worth it, billions of dollars in power. And there's a Democratic person a bunch of Democrats who want that seat. If she dies or becomes incapacitated in any way, although she's obviously incapacitated now, if that happens, Governor Newsom, slick-haired Willie, gets to appoint the United States senator until there's an election. So that would give somebody a leg up in that seat. Now, one of the guys running for that seat, and it's hard to get you out of that seat once you're in there, as you could tell, I mean, is Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff wants to become the United States senator for the state of California, and he would be there as the youngest guy. He would be there at 63, probably be there, the rest of our lives, if he gets in there. Now, this rumor that I'm hearing out of Sacramento and outside of Santa Monica is that another guy has decided to run for the United States Senate, and that is Arnold Schwarzenegger, who would run on the Republican Party line and maybe Bigfoot all of these people and take the Senate seat back into Republican hands. That would be an earthquake piece of news if that does happen. There's rumblings, as I said. This is a rumor out of Santa Monica. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. And what party would Arnold run under? Because he's not exactly a mainstream, even Republican at this point. I mean, he's so to the
left. He's like a Susan Collins type of Republican, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I'll take it. It's like just to have that number to, to chip it over. Like if you had him, if the West Virginia guy, Manchin switched over, then that's 2. And
Joe Manchin may be switching parties also. He's putting out a lot of feelers out there, for switching the parties. Now Newsom is termed out after this thing ends here. So he's looking for another job, maybe where Biden lives. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure why Biden's dog keeps biting everyone. The 2 dogs just keep biting and biting and biting. I'm not sure what that's about, but I mean, at some point, the Secret Service is going to have to take out a weapon and shoot these 2 dogs because they're big freaking German Shepherds and they just keep biting everyone that comes in there. It's a fascinating little side bit. I mean, maybe the dogs just want out, Eric.
By the way, the chat's bitching about Arnold. We're not a fan of Arnold. We know that he's a Republican in name only at best.
Let me just stop you.
He's still better than nothing.
Let me just interrupt you. Ask the chat, Adam Schiff or Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll wait. Go ahead. That's the choice, fuckos. You tell me what you want. Adam Schiff, or Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll wait.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a troll in the chat. A fuzzy creature actually said.
Yeah. It might be a Democrat. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. We got to have a troll. But yeah, exactly. Let me see. While we're here, I want to go through a couple super chats. This is early on. Love the show on Mark's metaphor. I have a picture of Chris Christie being a midget wrestler in my mind for Ali versus Frazier 2. See you in Alabama.
So funny. That's funny.
That is funny. Great.
Yeah, we got to clean the field out, bro. We really do. I mean, this thing is taking too long. Get rid of these people. I mean, I don't care about this guy Vivek. He's apparently now got Soros on his Wikipedia page backing him that he paid to have eliminated. All of these people have baggage. Get them the fuck out of here. I don't want to hear from any of these people anymore. All I want to hear is 2 guys in the ring, mano a mano, toe to toe, the ancient fucking twisted guy with the brain damage versus the guy with the orange hair. Let's go. Those are the choices. That's what's going to end up. Let's get it on. I don't want to hear about it 3 weeks before the election that these are the 2 choices. I don't want this guy's coffer drained. I don't want the other guy to have an advantage financially because everybody's getting money. Eric sent me a thing right after the show. Trump donor gave $5 million to RFK Jr. right after I said it. $5 million. You think he's going to have another $5 million in the garage somewhere when RFK is surfing in Malibu and his campaign is long over and he's back with Cheryl Hines and his Hollywood friends, which is going to happen, folks. That's what's going to happen. All of that money is going to be for nothing. I love his ideas. And if he comes back in 2028, we can start from scratch with this guy. And God bless him. He is a guy with a big set of balls and a lot of great ideas. All he's doing now is giving the election to Joe Biden. That's what this guy is doing. If that's what you like, have at it, because you're going to look at 4 more years of the most repressive years in American political history, because you want to hear a schoolyard of ideas of how to fix the country from a lot of people, knowing that the other guy has already got the nomination wrapped up. Okay. And for the people who think that money doesn't matter in the campaigns because Hillary Clinton outspent Trump 1,000,000 to 1, Trump had all kinds of money, Eric, as we've discussed, which is in-kind money from being in the media every single day, that he didn't have to spend the type of money, and rallies that she never had, which came for free also. So campaign money means something. That's why they go out and get it. And it's finite. It's finite. This guy who gave $5 million to RFK Jr. is not sitting, I'm guessing, on another $5 million to give to Trump 5 weeks later.
Yeah, I agree. And RFK Jr. is dangerous in that regard, because in that same article, if you look at the amount of money, he raised like 10 million or somewhere in there, or 8 to 10. And the majority of it was from Republicans.
That's right.
Not from Democrats.
And people, no matter how many times I say it, they can't get it through their fat heads. I don't know what it is about people on the right that can't simply understand. Maybe it's the left also. I don't really know, but it seems to be a mental block on the right. They don't comprehend pragmatic, street level, door to door politics. It's somehow they're up in the clouds. It's all about morality. It's all about fair play. It's all about don't get your hands dirty. We have to have these country club candidates who are nice guys, and then we lose. Okay? It's time to roll up your fucking sleeves and go to work and beat this bastard. He's not going to beat himself. He's not leaving that White House unless he's dragged out, physically dragged out. Everything that he said about Trump, that's what they're thinking. Everything that they said about Trump not leaving and all that stuff, that's them, people. That's what they're going to do. Even if he beats him by 30 points, they're not leaving that fucking White House. I tell you that right now. They're going to have to be pried out with cleavers to get him out of the levers of power.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. The other problem is that all the people who are saying RFK whatever is red pilling the Dems, he can be doing anything he wants, but he's not going anywhere. There is zero path to victory for him on the Dem side because of the power structure of Democrats. There's a reason Trump ran as a Republican, and that's because for now, there are people trying to change it. The Republican path is the only way someone can actually modify the party to the candidate and get them to win. That cannot happen with the Democrats because of superdelegates. Right.
And he knows this. He knows this. He knows this, RFK. He knows there's no path to victory. He wants to get his ideas out there, but it's at the cost of the Republic. The damage that he is doing is incalculable to the Republic. And the fact that he is blocking Trump's raising money and not denouncing, I'm still waiting for him to come out and denounce the indictments by Jack Smith as a special prosecutor against Trump. This is day after day after day after day of crickets coming out of the RFK campaign of not denouncing this insane indictments of Trump by Jack Smith. And everybody else on the left who has a brain left has come out and denounced it, but not RFK Jr.
Yeah, totally agree. Let me see. Let's cheer ourselves up. Pamela Clifton, $10. Thank you very much. Let me see. I'm Not Your Buddy Guy. Did you guys hear Richmond North of Richmond by Oliver Anthony? Man, does that song go? Oh, yeah, I saw that going around. It's a song that's kind of going viral at the moment.
Oh, right. I haven't heard it yet. It yet. But I'll tell you this, there's been a number of losses this week. Obviously, Robbie Robertson was a big loss. I'm a friend of his son for many years. And, you know, my condolences go out to Sebastian. Robbie was a fixture in L.A., worked with Marty Scorsese, obviously the guitar player for the band, lived in L.A. for many, many, many years, and passed away at the age of 80, I think, last night, a long-term illness. A legend of rock and roll who, if you want to see The Last Waltz, I'd highly recommend it, the Martin Scorsese documentary of the band in 1978 at Winterland in San Francisco. All the people who played with them who played with them over the years appear in the documentary and play with them. It's the greatest music documentary of all time. That being said, an obscure guy passed away named Sixto Rodriguez. Now, Sixto Rodriguez was a cat out of Detroit who was a guy who did manual labor. And Sixto Rodriguez was a man known as Sugar Man.
Okay.
And there's a documentary called Searching for Sugar Man that I highly recommend because he passed away yesterday as well. Sixto Rodriguez was a guy of incredible low ego, incredible humble guy, became a megastar in South Africa in the 80s and 90s. And there was a guy named Avant. Now, Avant was the head of Motown Records, Berry Gordy, and I forget his first name. And Avant's in the documentary. Avant stole all of this guy's money over the years, the money that was coming in from record sales. He sold hundreds of thousands of records in South Africa alone. And his records were made in 1968, 1969, way ahead of his time. He was like a Latino Bob Dylan. Okay, he was Mexican and Native American. By the way, which is what Robbie is. Robbie was half Native American and half Jewish. I don't know if there's a joke for that, but I'll come up with an ethnic joke at some point.
Tribes.
Right, I mean, who would have thought that Garth Hudson would be the last member of the band to survive this as a band member of the band? But getting back to Sixto Rodriguez. Sixto Rodriguez grew up in Detroit, completely impoverished, did manual labor his entire life. Real proud of himself as a manual laborer, and just an amazing guy with no ego. And this guy Avant, who ran Motown Records, was a thug. He was a thug who happened to be the head of Motown, and he stole all his money. And he had a daughter named Nicole Avant, and Nicole Avant married the head of a company called Netflix. And the Netflix guy left his family and wife and kids in Utah. He used to have a chain of like Blockbuster type video rentals. Left them behind, married Nicole Avant, and began to bundle tons of money, became the biggest money bundler for a guy named Barack Obama. So, and he's a white dude, but he married this black chick, Nicole Avant, who's hell on wheels. So as a reward for the money, the Obama administration asked Nicole Avant what she wanted. And she said, I want to be the ambassador to the Bahamas. And he said, all right, you're the ambassador to the Bahamas. She goes down to the Bahamas and parties every single week until the employees of the State Department in the Bahamas went to Obama and said, we're going to quit. We can't take it anymore. She's having wild parties here like a maniac. She's flying in every weekend like she owns the place. And it became like a house in the Hamptons for her. And this is the embassy in the Bahamas, Eric. So Barack Obama quietly on a Friday, late in the day, fired her black ass, okay? And she goes back to LA and disappears. She's married to the head of Netflix, so it's not like she doesn't have the money. But here's a weird twist. During COVID, like 2 years ago, during the lockdowns, this black dude, a homeless guy, broke into their home in Beverly Hills. This is her father and mother, and kills the mother, her mother, Nicole Avant's mother, in a invasion robbery, kills her with a rifle, kills the security guard, and escapes. And everybody thought it was a murder attempt of the father for being a thug running. This is all internal Hollywood chatter among ourselves. everybody thought this was a murder attempt of both of them because of the evil that the father had done at Motown, burning so many people. He wasn't there. The mother gets killed. The guy escapes, breaks into another house with a lot of young people, upscale house in the hills, and he's arrested. This young homeless black kid who was killing everyone, trying to break in and shoot everyone. So he was arrested, taken away in a gurney. I don't know what happened to him. He was wounded. And
Crazy.
Yeah. What?
Crazy. No, I'm just saying this is crazy.
Crazy story. It just came to mind because I watched the documentary last night, Searching for Sugar Man, that I highly recommend this weekend since he just passed away. And I forgot that Avant was in the doc, getting immediately the transformation into a thug on camera is breathtaking. How these people from South Africa making this movie, they have no agenda. They're saying, what happened to his money? They go and trace his record deals to find the money. And the guy in South Africa says, we're going to follow the money and find out what happened to Sixto Rodriguez's money. He's living in abject poverty in Detroit. And the road finally leads to Beverly Hills, to Avant. And it's interesting on camera how Avant goes from, hey, how's it going, man, to I'll kill you. Like literally on camera becomes a thug. And that's worth the price of admission. But it's a great film. I think it was nominated for Academy Award. This is not an obscure film. The only reason I mention it is because A, it's great, and B, Sixto Rodriguez just passed away yesterday. So that's one of my film picks of the week. The other one, because of Zelensky now, I don't know if you follow this, Eric, Zelensky is now cleaning house of his military upper brass. He's concerned, or they're concerned, about possible coup d'etat or overthrow of Zelensky by the military. So because of that, I have another pick for the week, Eric.
Yep, you do. I think it's this.
Yeah, go with Valkyrie. Movie directed, obviously starring Tom Cruise as von Stauffenberg, who almost kills Hitler. I mean, it was a nice try. Fate keeps Hitler alive by somebody moving the briefcase, but it's a very good movie. Directed, oddly enough, by Bryan Singer, the gay X-Men director who later got in trouble for playing around with kids in the shower who were extras in another film. He did one called Apt Pupil also. It was very good.
That was a Stephen King story.
Right, but I think it was directed by Bryan Singer about a Nazi next door. He also, I think so, right?
Yeah, that's what that is.
Right. Okay. So Valkyrie, starring Tom Cruise, is my action Nazi pick of the week. If you want a Nazi action picture that may be relative to what's going on in Ukraine now with Zelensky, in my humble opinion.
So I think three movies this weekend.
Yeah. Well, it's a long weekend. I don't know. You could start tonight. You may run out of movies. It's hard for me to find a movie. I stop people on the street now, because at some point they're going to run out of us watching the same movies over and over again, which is where we are. And I started to discuss this with people. At what point do we say we've run out of movies? Because there is nothing to watch anymore. Now, luckily, as you get older, you forget. And I've forgotten a lot of movies. Like we watched Interview with a Vampire the other night. And I'm going like, I don't remember this. What is this about? Is Tom Cruise is in this? And this other vampire's in there? I mean, I'm looking at this go, what?
Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, yeah.
Tom Cruise's Vampires, and of course it's based on the book, and it's a terrible screenplay, and it's not a good movie, and right. But I'm going like, okay, now I watch that again. You know what I mean? I'm running out of things to watch, Hunley, because they can't make any new movies, and I don't believe it's because of the strike. This was happening for the past 5 years, 6 years, maybe 10 years.
Yeah, it's shifted to television. I feel like television got better. Movies just turned into superhero garbage, pretty much, or nothing else. They've eliminated the entire independent movie. There was a heyday, like in the 90s, I feel, into the early aughties a little bit, where you had those movies that were made for $20 to $50 million, and they were hoping to get $60 to $90 million, and that would be a big success.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the films people were asking me about this week was 13 Days, the Roger Donaldson film. Roger Donaldson, the Australian director who directed a thing that I worked on called The Recruit, a.k.a. The Farm. He ended up being the director. he directed a David Self-written, not self-written, but a guy named David Self, who wrote the script, 13 Days. And the star of the movie and the producer is Kevin Costner, who plays Kenny O'Donnell with the worst Boston accent ever recorded. And the problem with the movie is that all the Kennedy aides said that Kenny O'Donnell wasn't even there, you know, because he's just an aide who's his friend, and he's not involved in all these things. But because he's the producer of the film, Kevin Costner, and the star, he's in every scene talking to the Kennedys, and it just didn't happen. People are asking me about the accuracy of the film, and one of the inaccuracies is that Kenny O'Donnell wasn't in those scenes. So there's a problem there. But you know, when you have that muscle like Costner does, you could put yourself into American history and just say, "Look, I'm Kevin Costner. I want to be in the middle of this thing." You know, but many inaccuracies in 13 days. I'll tell you that, folks. But you know, it's a movie that cost in 2000 cost $80 million to make, and only took in 60 in box office. So, I mean, it lost a lot more money than even that, more than the 20 mil. But the problem again, and I'll bring this up for the 9,000th fucking time, when you take an Australian to make an American film, you're going to have inaccuracies. And the reason I mention that is the inaccuracies in the film are not known by Roger Donaldson, who's from Australia, which is fun for the screenwriter. He could put in whatever the hell he wants. The director's not going to know if it's accurate or not. Same thing with Christopher Nolan and Oppenheimer. Sorry, folks. I say, and people, you know, said, what about the Enigma machine? What about U571? It cuts both ways. It cuts both ways. I don't want us making movies about England, because we're going to do the same thing. You know what I mean? I'm not, you know, saying that it's one-sided. It's both sides.
Right. We shouldn't be doing the King Charles movie.
Right. But I mean, even U571, which is a submarine movie, tons of inaccuracies about the Enigma machine and which the Poles actually recovered. I'm not going to get into that. But the point of the matter is, you know, people from Britain were hassling me saying, you know, what about you making movies that are wrong about Britain? I've said that. I agree. I don't want to make movies about Britain. I couldn't do it. I couldn't make a movie about Britain. And I don't expect the British to come in and solve the Kennedy assassination. There's nobody in Britain who, and I'm not bragging, who's going to know more about it than someone like myself. I don't expect you to. I lived through it. I researched it. I've been there. I can't expect the British to do our history and vice versa. I can't do British history. I'm sorry. There's plenty of guys who can do it. But when I hear that British accent on a documentary, my antenna goes up. My antenna goes up going, oh boy, here we go. Here we go. Here's an MI6 production, if ever I saw one. And, you know, when Roger Donaldson is making 13 Days, you know, not to knock Roger Donaldson, he's not the screenwriter. He doesn't know if this shit is true or not. And there's a lot of inaccuracies in there. But everybody goes, hey, 13 Days, great movie, bro. I mean, nobody has the skill. And it's you'd have to be a historian and a screenwriter to discern what is factually inaccurate in a biopic, in a historical biopic. And I love just going in there in the weeds, because when I'm writing a historical biopic, I have to go into the weeds. And, you know, I've had my ass reamed out for making mistakes and called on it by someone else bigger than me, who's a director. So I know what it's like to be on the other side of that. I also know what it's like to get away with it, you know, and just say, nobody caught that. You know what I mean? But the reality of it is, you know, the studio's not going to catch it. And it goes back to what I was saying before about the Hollywood 10. The Hollywood 10 were getting notes from the studios here in town and also from Moscow. And think about that, my friends.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Let me get a couple super chats in here. Ronald Pinta, who is also Gumbasto, sent $50 super chat here and has a Rumble rant question of another $50 Rumble rant. He's super supportive. Everyone should pay attention to BRICS announcement on the de-dollarization of our dollar on August 22nd.
Okay, he's right.
I'm not familiar with what's going on there.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is get their monetary thing going through BRICS. So I think there's going to be some announcement of some sort of currency that may be universal for BRICS, is what he's hinting at. Of course, Pinta and Dumbasto are never seen together. This is something I can only stress.
Not even on the same stream. One's
Like Clark
Rumble,
Kent,
so
like
here.
Superman, they're never seen in the same room. No one's ever seen them together.
Yeah, I agree. And somehow on 3 different streams, and I don't know.
The guy's working on 3 different levels right now, maybe 6 levels. We don't really know. He's playing like 3-dimensional chess with us, funding all different kinds of operations for us, and then disappearing in the middle of the night.
We're just trying to stay on his good side.
Dude, it would be great. You run into this guy somewhere. He goes, "Hey, I'm Gambasto." You're what? You're in line at Target. And the guy goes, "Yes, it's me, Gambasto."
Maybe we'll run into him in Montgomery, Alabama.
Which gives me a moment to say today's hero of the blues is Barbecue Bob. Barbecue Bob, ladies and gentlemen, today's hero of the blues. Barbecue Bob Robert Hicks, a.k.a. born in 1902, Walnut Grove, Georgia, learned guitar from his brother, who recorded as Charlie Lincoln around 1920, moved to Atlanta. His employment in a local restaurant gave rise to his recording name, Barbecue Bob. Between 1927 and 1930, Hicks recorded 55 sides, all on 12-string guitar. His guitar style was among the most percussive found in the blues, setting him apart from some like-sounding Georgians. He died in 1931. Today's hero of the blues is Barbecue Bob, which we hope to be getting some of in Montgomery, Alabama, on Labor Day weekend when we meet up down there with you heroes of the blues.
True, and
unless there's a twister or something, you know.
Let's hope not. Speaking of blues cards, we always have our cards, which are the Kennedy assassination
Look at the
card
Tippett
set.
one. The Tippett one's really good.
The J.D. Tippett. We've got a little lovely Ruth
She
Payne.
looks kind of attractive, Ruth Payne. I mean, that's kind of flattering.
Jumbo
card. Look at him.
Bill.
Let me tell you something. He looks sketchy as fuck, that guy.
Yes, he does. And General Walker. And there is a third set available to order now.
Are we going to have those in Montgomery for sale, or what's the deal?
We will have them in Montgomery, but there's a third set that you can pre-order now with George de Mohrenschildt, Clay Shaw, and Jim Garrison.
Oh my God, it's an all-star team.
Yep.
Okay, so how do these people get tickets if there are any tickets left for this meetup in Montgomery Labor Day, Saturday and Sunday?
You can find information right there.
Where?
EricHunley.eventbrite.com, as you see it on the screen.
Right on.
I'll make sure that I get it in the description as well. The VIP event has been sold out, so it's Sunday is the meetup. Everybody focus on Sunday.
Oh, focus on Sunday. Now, Monday's a holiday, so don't give me this shit. It's Sunday. I don't want to hear about it because Monday's Labor Day. And
well, that's why we picked it.
That's why we picked it. So don't start crying. You got to work in the deli that you work in on Monday or in Tuscaloosa, because it ain't going to cut it. Try to get down Saturday, I don't know, Saturday night, and then sleep over, go to a youth hostel, maybe camp out in front like they are at the hotels in New York now. They're now sleeping around the hotels. By the way, on a separate issue, the mayor of New York is there's an island off the coast of New York. There's a couple of different islands. There's Rikers Island, which has a lot of bad guys. There's also Randall's Island. And Randall's Island has all these manicured sports fields for the kids in New York to use in summer programs. There's all kinds of soccer fields, baseball fields, basketball courts. And the kids and the parents for decades have organized sports for kids in the summer on these multiple fields that are on Randall's Island. Okay. Because of the illegal immigrant crisis in New York, the mayor of New York has seized the island, has seized Randall's Island in a bold move and putting up giant tents to house the African immigrants that are coming in a 20,000-mile journey from Africa to Mexico to New York. I mean, think about that. You go from Africa to Mexico to New York and end up on Randall's Island. So now the kids and the parents are screaming bloody murder that their summer programs that they have every summer have been eliminated because the mayor has seized the island. He seized the island, my friends, to put up a tent, a huge tent, I assume, to put the Africans in the tent on Randall's Island. So more updates next week on this particular story, which is a bizarre story. Also, the Lady Gaga story is just really getting weird. I don't even, there's just too much news on me. There's too much news.
Yeah, there is. All right. David Snyder, JFK footage is missing. Holy Grail. I don't think there is any missing that.
Missing footage. I don't think there's any missing footage.
Let me see. David Snyder, Natalie Wood's death. Conclusion?
All three of them were drunk. She fell overboard and drowned.
Let's see, Brian D. I feel like you two are part of the beginning of the swinging back to a sane and pro-freedom America. Thank you, and be careful. Team Oswald. That's right, Oswald.
Like, I hope it happens soon, because I can't keep up this level of insanity much longer. I mean, something's got to give. We're on a collision course right now, folks. Everybody knows it. People are discussing it quietly. Nobody knows what to do. Barnes talked about this every 100 years thing. Eric and I were talking about this every 80-year thing.
Yeah, it's a pendulum or the fourth turning. It's written both ways. It does line up. And that's why the whole thing of 68 through early 70s, it's so familiar, because it's this cycle that's going around. And here's a warning from Gary Roy. Mark, Eric, the UK is being taken over by a Marxist. Please get the word out about Marxists. Yep. They're real and it's happening. Can you do a show on Marxist teaching and infiltration techniques so people can see? Thank you.
Well, we did do it because we had on, what's his name?
Yeah.
With Pandemic 3.
Yeah, Mickey Willis.
Mickey Willis. I mean, that was a show on specifically on Marxists taking over. And his movie, Pandemic 3, which is about that, whether it's UK or anywhere, they're not going to take out a fucking full-page ad in the New York Times, people. Get it through your fat heads. They're going to lie. They're going to sneak around. They're going to cheat. These are commie rats. And everyone's like, ha, that's so funny. Commie rats taking over the country. The fact that people think this is a science fiction movie or UFOs or an HBO miniseries shows you how nefarious and how successful they are at pulling this shit off. You know, everybody's going, I got to go to Target. I can't really worry about the takeover of the country by Marxists. Okay, then shut the fuck up when the Marxists are running your school and your kids are being brought home indoctrinated with Marxist teachings. You know, what did you do to stop it? Well, I did nothing. You know, I decided to do nothing because it was rather uncomfortable. Now the Marxists run my kid's school system, and you know, I can't really do anything. You know, look what's going on in Eric's state in Virginia, how they fought back. They brought in Youngkin. They took over this goddamn thing. They put a stop to it in Virginia. Get off your fat asses and get on the school board, people. They'll take any position they can. It's in the Marxist doctrine. And the communists talked about it in China recently. Take any elected position they can and politicize it. They don't give a shit if it's dog catcher or the head of the Board of Health. They are going to get in power and use that power. And you think, well, what could they do with the Board of Health? That sounds crazy. Well, how about look at the one in LA? It's run by a Dr. Barbara Ferrer. She rules over 10 million people. She has indicated and brought out the most draconian anti-COVID lockdown and mask measures of any of state in the union. And she makes $700,000 a year. This is a public official. Everyone assumed she was a doctor. She was not a doctor. She had a doctorate in urban communist planning. That was her doctorate. She's an avowed Marxist, running a 10 million person county health department that hired a guy named Adam Schiff's aide as communication director, and then went to censor and successfully censored through Twitter, Facebook, and other entities, political opposition in Los Angeles and the area who were trying to challenge her ruling in LA County from the Board of Health. The Board of Health became the Soviet Politburo. It wasn't about health anymore. All of these small businesses were destroyed because of her. And you know, I'll just give you an example, and I'll shut up about this. We had thought, and we were correct, we didn't have any examples of this, that they were going to crush these small businesses on purpose and then take over physically the spots where their businesses were and turn them into city facilities. Well, that's exactly what West Hollywood did with about 5 failed restaurants. City of West Hollywood, through the people who ran the restaurants, had connections with the City Council of West Hollywood, got them to buy their failed restaurants and turn them into city properties. That, in other words, the socialist government of West Hollywood did exactly what we thought they were going to do. And the businesses that were locked down and failed, restaurants in West Hollywood, were bought by the city of West Hollywood, now owned by the government. Just a minor example, folks.
By the way, if you guys want to read a fantastic book about the infiltration of Marxism, how they've done it for literally past 100+ years, read Andrew Breitbart's book, Righteous Indignation. That came out like 2011, 2012, not that long before he died. And it is illuminating everything from the Frankfurt School through Woodrow Wilson. I mean, it is shocking, and it is dead on, very prescient of all that we are seeing now. Booker Doug, I'm having a hard time giving you a larger amount. You guys are the best. You know what? We deeply appreciate it, but you don't have, just thank you. I mean, just tell a friend. You don't have to. We obviously do appreciate it. But
technically he was having it. He's saying financially.
I'm guessing, which, you know, we really appreciate. We don't expect it. We are thankful for everyone who has given you any support. But, Bill Paul, do you believe the game show executive Chuck Barris was a secret CIA assassin?
No.
Yeah, that one's been going around for a while. Damn, I got chills. Thought Jack Martin was back. Love the hat. Love the show.
Jack Martin gave me this hat, and I can't talk to you anymore about it, Mr. Garrison. There are people, the people who know things.
Jim Buchanan, $50 super sticker. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks.
Super. I feel bad when there's no question. It's like, wow, it's so generous, but thank you. Known Bread. Who are the Kagans? How did they rise to power in the U.S.? Tori Newland?
Yeah, she's a Kagan. I mean, they have their own little neocon world over there. I mean, apparently, well, he's a military historian. One of them, you know, I mean, they have different jobs, but he's the most dangerous people in the world. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, they'll start a war anywhere. They don't care where it is. I mean, war is like heroin to the Kagans.
Oh, God, yes. Al Gonzalez.
Again, you notice how the wars that the Kagans are starting and the Newlands are starting. Nobody's saying anything about, hey, nuclear war, bro. You know, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, you can't do it. There's 400,000 dead in Ukraine without a nuclear weapon, folks. It doesn't mean that every war is going to be a nuclear war. In fact, it's almost like an agreement that nobody's going to use nuclear weapons. We're just going to fight to the death without nuclear weapons. You know, those people are dead in Ukraine. It's a meat grinder there now. The Russians are sitting there and they just keep feeding the beast. I mean, what are the Russians going to do? Let them invade Russia, or are they just going to keep killing them as they come? It's obviously the latter of the two. You know, there's 400,000 dead Ukrainians at this point because of the Biden administration. I mean, you want to talk about war crimes? Jesus Christ.
It's a generation lost, probably.
They're gone. They're gone. Now they're going after old people and kids, trying to get them into the army.
Wow. Mark and Eric, do you enjoy a fine cigar like I do? And if so, what's your current favorite? I don't really do.
I used to smoke Dominican cigars. I got so addicted to them. I was smoking like 5 a day. This was in the early 2000s. I had to give it up. I enjoyed it so much. It was just, of course, like everything else, I just enjoyed it too much. And, you know, if you're a writer, you sit there with coffee and a cigar, you could go for days. You know what I mean? And I would go to the middle of the night. There's a cigar place near Universal Studios, just a store, you know, on the corner there. And I'd have to drive in the middle of the night, get 5 more, come back, Cohibas, dark, juicy Cohibas, really dark, juicy ones. Even think about it now, I'm salivating. But no, I had to give it up because it was just, I couldn't breathe anymore. You know what I mean? So I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't quit smoking.
Anymore. This is the only thing I could do. I can't, I mean, everything's addictive. I can't do anything anymore. You know.
That's true. I quit smoking in 2005, and I'm terrified to inhale anything because I was what I'd self-describe a dedicated smoker, as in I intended to smoke. If I was sick, I would smoke. It didn't matter what time of day, I would find a reason to smoke. And fortunately, I got a horrible flu. I was unable to smoke for 2 days, and I realized, hey, it takes 3 days to, you know, get it out of your system. Suck it up for 1 more day and never touch them again. And I was Happy to get that
You
flu.
hear that a lot. I mean, I smoke lightly. I quit a long time ago, but I only smoke when I drank. One of those guys. But the flu would do it. If you get sick just from the flu, it's hard to smoke right afterwards. You really got to force yourself. It's a good time to quit. It's a good time.
I took advantage. It was like, that was the first time I had been able to literally make it more than like 4 hours without a cigarette. I made it 2 days, and I was like, I'm almost there. Almost there. So, Mark, what news sources do you trust? Barely any. Yeah.
I like Revolver, American Greatness for the most part, Breitbart for some things. What else is there to trust? I mean, I'm trying to think. The whatchamacallit thing.
Intercept sometimes, but
I never look at the Intercept. That's run by maniacs at this point. But Gateway Pundit for the most part, those sources. Gateway Pundit, Revolver. I look at RT all the time. A great
Enoch
source.
Times? Wait.
No,
Epoch Times?
Who? Yeah,
Epoch
Times is good. Like American Greatness is good. Gateway Pundit. About 5 or 6 sources.
All right. Bob
including
D.
RT, by the way.
Thank you very much. 1999. And Basil Beshkov. Remember Rod Blagojevich?
No.
Blagojevich.
It's Blagojevich.
Sorry.
Yeah.
In Chicago, 16 years in jail for trying to sell Obama's seat.
It was complete railroading. He didn't try to sell anything. This was revenge by Obama and trying to get him out. And I mean, think about Pritzker, who's now in there. Just think about Pritzker, who's in there, that fat fuck. He signed a bill this week in Illinois allowing illegal aliens. Think about this tonight. Talk to your wife. But illegal aliens becoming sheriffs and policemen in the state of Illinois. Illegal aliens, because there was an incredible outcry that illegal aliens couldn't be law enforcement officers in the state of Illinois. So he signed legislation that the sheriffs who pull you over on the road asking for your ID are illegal aliens from another country. That's where this Marxist shit is taking us, folks. That's what Obama wanted. That's what they're getting out of the state of Illinois. Rod Blagojevich, I highly doubt, even though he was a Democrat, would have done anything like this. He had to be removed from office. Now, the other power structure, which was Jesse Jackson Jr., he was sent to jail with his wife for corruption and wearing fur coats and going around like he was a pimp. That's a separate issue from Rod Blagojevich. Rod Blagojevich was railroaded. And he's out now talking about it, so I don't have to know that.
Okay, now this one I've got to push back on. Again, I'd rather a guy who's against me than an ally tries to shift the Overton window to the left. Arnie shifts the window. Hold on, it's California. He doesn't shift the Overton window to the left. He shifts it to the right. It's Absolutely. California. Can we please address the location? He's not running in Virginia. He's not running in Texas. He'd be running in California. He shifts it to the right.
Well, he shifts it to the, let me just be specific. He shifts it to the middle. And
okay.
that would be appreciated, just to move it off of the Marxist revolutionary thing where right. Newsom was buying $1 billion worth of masks from China. I mean, there's damage that Schwarzenegger can do to the communist left in California if he becomes United States Senator, expressly blocking the continuation of the takeover of the Marxists. If he just blocks them for a couple of years, that would be an advantageous move.
Now, even if he does nothing in the Senate, he could help them get the chairs, all the chairmanships. You know, that's why it's so important.
Oh, dude, it's not even debatable. I mean, look, I'm no Schwarzenegger fan either, but I mean, it's not even debatable. Think about real politics, for the love of God. Why can't these people think of real pragmatic politics, Eric? What is so freaking difficult?
Yeah, it's like
I don't like Trump's hair. I can't vote for him. Okay.
It's true. Bob D. Mark, what's your take on Edward R. Murrow? He went out hard after Senator McCarthy.
Look, he was part of the machinery. What are you, Edward R. Murrow? I mean, he's probably a drunk and a chain smoker, and that's what killed him. But the reality of it is, they were using people trying to stop McCarthy. This was a war, people. They have infiltrated behind enemy lines. As I've said, the Soviet Politburo, when the Soviet Union collapsed, They didn't go to the Ukraine. They came here. They came to Brooklyn. They came to Beverly Hills. They came to London. That's where they went. Maybe some did go to Ukraine for all I know. But the reality of it is, when this empire collapsed, the Soviet Empire collapsed, not unlike Operation Paperclip, when the Nazis were defeated, they didn't go to Poland. They went here. They came here, the Nazis. Okay, where did the Japanese scientists go, the war crime scientists? Here. They didn't go to Korea. I mean, the people come here when they're defeated. We bring them in. That's how the Vietnamese boat people came here, right, Eric?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Lady Freddie, Meghan Markle has political aspirations. Creeps me out.
Nah, I don't think so. All this chick wants to be from day one is on camera as an actress. If she has to be a producer to put herself on camera, she'll do anything in the narcissistic planet Earth to get into a position of acting on camera. That's all she wants. It's all she ever did want. She will eventually divorce this retarded husband. She won't even take the kid. I think she'll leave the kid over in England, come back and try to get into movies. That's all she freaking cares about.
Well, that's encouraging. Lady Freddie, does Cornell take Trump money voters? No.
No.
None of them. It's strictly from Biden. 100% takes it from Biden.
100%
because he's taking it from the black.
Yep, 100% from Biden. Every black vote he could pry away from Biden. See, they need 99.999% of the black vote to win on the Democratic side. Now, Trump peeled away a bunch of African Americans, but if Cornel West peels them away in a third party, oh
yeah, they'll be treating him like Ralph Nader.
Dude,
they will hate him.
They're gonna try to assassinate Cornel West, bro. I think they're gonna go. By the way, on Tuesday we're gonna have a show. I don't want to name the guy that we're doing the show about, but it's a show about an obscure political assassin. I'm just gonna leave it at that. You could guess all you want over there in the chat, you fat bastards, but you're not gonna get it. We're gonna go and do a show on this guy. Nobody talks about this guy, but we're gonna talk about it on Tuesday. Okay, sorry. Go on.
Well, that's why he's an untold story.
It's an untold story.
David Clark, just over 5,000 needed to get over the hump. I agree.
And I don't mean the hump into China, which is the hump we were talking about with Curtis LeMay last week.
And we're talking about the one that matters. Ours. 100,000, damn it.
Come on, let us get over the hump. I can't take it anymore. The tension is killing me. And there's the opening bell. The two men come to the center ring. Blows are landed. How do we get to 100,000, Hunley?
They got to tell a friend. I don't know if they grab their phone, just, go to the store. There's samples in the store and say, hey, let me try that phone out. Oh, hey, does YouTube work on it? There you go. Subscribe.
You know what? That's an underground method. I never thought of that. That's a brilliant method. Everyone tonight, how many people? 50,000 people. Go to Best Buy and go to those phones at Best Buy that are out there and just boom, 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 boom.
And have all your friends do it. Or just go borrow every phone. I don't know, but it would really help.
Is YouTube getting rid of the links, Hunley? What is the deal with these links?
They're getting rid of links in shorts now. So there's going to be a painful period for us potentially. We put out shorts on our shows like JFK Q&As, and then there's a link from that to the full live stream. Now it appears that's going to go away until late September, and they're going to implement a new method. So we won't be able to have links going out. So people will watch a short and go, oh, where can I see the rest of that in the comments? And I'll say, I put a link there, but I can't because there can't be a link in the comments. Anyway, it's a headache. It's YouTube.
Dude, I want that Indian head of YouTube to be sat in a chair in front of Congress and explain who is doing all this. And I want some rank and file employees dragged in there. I want the censorship board of YouTube dragged into the bright light of liberty in that Congress and be grilled by Matt Gaetz and some of those other guys up on the panel like Rand Paul. Rand Paul's over in the Senate. But some of these other guys like Jim Jordan under oath as to what, how, and when YouTube makes decisions like they did with Twitter, like they've attempted to do with Zuckerberg with Facebook. And will Zuckerberg be fighting Elon Musk in a Texas death match in a cage?
No, supposedly he's going to be fighting in Italy in a Coliseum type of thing. There will be no modern scenery. It's like this is I don't know what the bigger battle is, their wrestling match or their egos. It
Who
is
cares?
astounding.
It's incredibly entertaining. I don't give a shit.
Well, that's true. That's
I
true.
pay per view to see this.
Oh my
Are you
God.
kidding me? This is great.
One thing I thought was funny is Musk said that UFC will not be in charge of it. So he's like, he's pushing it off somebody else.
That's terrible.
Let me see. See, Gittins, love you both, and I'm in sync 100% with the view of our country now. See you on next. Thank you.
Right. I mean, look, it pains me to have to do this. I can't sleep at night anymore over this shit. I mean, and I'm not in, it's just exhausting. The whole thing's exhausting. We're on a collision course because of the indictments. Nobody knows where this is going to go, but it's not going to end well for anybody. I mean, he's now picked a court date, Jack Smith, of January 2nd, I think, for the Trump case, denying Trump access to the primaries. I mean, at some point, you've got to keep going up to the Supreme Court and get one of those, what's those things called? It's got two wheels and the security guards have it, Eric. The like wedgie, or what's it? It's that motorized thing that security guards use with two wheels.
Oh, Segway.
Segway. Okay, so the lawyers have to get like 8 of those and use them to go up the hill to the Supreme Court all day long and file motions nonstop. Do they know how to file motions? I mean, what's the deal with these people? Why aren't they filing motions? Even if they're rejected, who gives a shit? Why don't they just get up there and keep filing motions? Tack them to the door. Put them on the door of the building.
Okay, well, we were talking about that offline, and you were saying instead of Trump hiring, like, oh, she's nice to look at, or this person's kissing my ass or building on my ego, he needs to hire literally a leftist lawyer who wants to make a name for themselves, a Dershowitz who wants to defend a Nazi, quote unquote.
Right. I was telling Eric there are thousands and thousands and thousands of young Dershowitzes who would cut their wrist to be the attorney for Trump. And I don't mean to undermine Trump. I mean to be the guy who clears Trump, to make a name for himself as the greatest attorney of all time. That's what Dershowitz does. He defends Nazis. He defends Klaus von fucking Bülow, who I think was a Nazi. I mean, all kinds of OJs or whatever it is. That's what guys who are famous do to make themselves the name that they are. Dershowitz did not come out of thin air. There are thousands and thousands of Dershowitzes out there. Trump should hire 5 of them and let them go to work on this freaking case, because these conservative attorneys with the white shoes that Robert talks about couldn't give a shit about this case politically, emotionally, morally, or historically. They're going to go play fucking golf. They're going to collect a check. They don't want to go before the Supreme Court. They don't want to do anything. They want to go back to their office and hide under their freaking desk. And he needs a William Kunstler of the right, or a William Kunstler of the left in this particular case. If you want to get Ron Kuby, that would be nice, who was replaced Kunstler when he passed away. Or, like Eric mentioned, the guy who defended Alex Jones. Get that guy. That guy was great. I mean, get that freaking guy on your team. Put together an all-star team of lefties for crying out loud. Because this ain't working, folks. He gets indicted every time there's a story about Hunter Biden. You do, and I think Jimmy Dore, somebody talked about this. Every time there's a story on Hunter Biden, there's another indictment of Donald Trump to deflect the news. This is not rocket science.
Oh yeah, if not
this special prosecutor today, this special prosecutor is designed to stop the bleeding and the attacks on Hunter Biden. This is an attempt to put a finger in the dike of the dam that's leaking, and they're going to tell the House Investigations Committee that you can't have any documents because there's a federal special prosecutor going at this. Watch how they begin to cockblock the House investigations quickly into Hunter Biden, people. But while you're still cheering the appointment of a special prosecutor on a Friday, watch what happens on Monday. They're going to try to kick this into the back burner until after the election. That's why they hired the special prosecutor, to drive a freaking stake into the heart of the House Investigations Committee into Hunter Biden. Okay, just so you know this on Friday.
Which, by the way, is very effective.
Yep.
Let me see. I'm going to get through a few locals tips here. Great show as always, gents. What are your thoughts on the 1967 book, Report from Iron Mountain?
I forget what that's about. I forget what it's called. I know I've heard the name of the book. I forget.
Somebody, TLP Regine or TLP Regine. Love the hat, bro. Twins also agrees. Mark looks very debonair.
Debonair.
Rogue Thunder. Get all the professors who conduct the Confucius schools.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you something. Those Confucius schools have been driving me nuts for like 5 years. They have to be eradicated. Go in there, close the doors, make them force themselves, these Chinese, to come before Congress. And if you read the bylaws of what they're doing, it says to spread the word of communist Chinese culture throughout the land. I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know if there's, any, conservative Hillsdale College in the middle of Peking, for Christ's sakes. I mean, this cannot continue to exist, people. It's just too freaking easy. I mean, we're giving them layups here. We're giving them layups. I mean, there's got to be pushback on this stuff.
Right, definitely. What about here we go. Mr. Richard Cranium. That's always funny. Been one of my favorite. Yes. Yeah. How do you keep from losing hope after seeing Garland's actions today? Sorry.
Well, I mean, the only hope I can have is the impeachment of Merrick Garland by, again, on Monday. I don't know why he's not impeached. What is it to them? What does it cost money or something? What is the downside of impeaching Merrick Garland? I don't understand. Tell me the freaking well, people will get upset. Fuck people getting upset. Impeach this creep. I mean, it's drive a state, get a victory, put some numbers up on the board, for Christ's sake. Kick a field goal, something. Get some points up on the board, for goddamn it. I mean, they just keep doing nothing. I mean, granted, after 6 months, right, or a little now, it's 8 months in power, they have had hearings. They have brought certain light to the American public about certain things. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. But, man, you got to start going for some touchdowns. You got to start throwing this ball into the end zone. Stop running the ball. And I hate to, well, I don't hate you. I like football analogy. Stop running the ball into the middle of the line and gaining 6 inches or losing 6 inches.
Yeah, very, 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 very true.
Throw to the corners. Go to the coffin corner, for Christ's sakes.
Coffin corner. Let me see, Marcus Debonair. What about a show about James Jesus Angleton? That's coming up, right?
Yeah, we'll do him, of course.
Barnes recommends having a backup country to flee to if necessary. I'm thinking of Ecuador. What do you think? Didn't they just shoot down the? Was that Ecuador?
Yeah, I mean, my backup country is Israel, so I don't know what everybody else has because I have dual citizenship as a Jew. Hunley's fucked. Hunley's screwed. Hunley's dead. But
thank you so much.
Unless he gets a yarmulke and converts, I mean, maybe they'll let him in. But there's a lot of questions in that conversion.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like taking the SATs to become a Jew. It's like the Minnesota multiphasic personality test. I mean, there's 543 questions on the history of Judaism. Hunley's never going to pass. I don't think I could pass, but I'm in. I'm in already.
There you go. Oh, geez. Somebody sent a meme. What keeps a man's knees from touching when he sits? Balls. And it's a picture of Trump with his legs slightly spread and Trudeau with his legs like all curled up with each other.
That's funny.
So let me see.
People listen to this on radio, they're not, or audio podcast, they're not going to miss anything because we can't see it. Only can see this.
Yep. Another one we're not going to be covering, the 1967 Israeli attack on the Liberty.
Maybe I know this is a strange idea, but maybe it was a one-off. I know this sounds crazy. Maybe it was an incident that was a one-off incident with bad intelligence and something happened. I mean, did Israel invade the United States afterwards and kill the president? I mean, what is the follow-up to the attack on the Liberty? And nobody seems to have an answer. No, dude, it was Mossad, bro. Mossad killed the president. I mean, give me a break.
All right, Bighorn Shaver, Eric Hunley, just watch your body language Q&A. Toward the end, one of the guys said he wanted to interview Sirhan, the guy who killed RFK. Did you get to ever disabuse him of that assumption? He doesn't. I don't believe Chase believes that. I think he is saying, like, quote unquote, the guy who killed him, not that he actually did kill him. Otto sent a tip in.
What about autoimmune? That would be a great name. A great punk name. Otto.
Well, he's Otto M, so he's halfway there.
Yeah.
Just add immune behind that, Otto. When people start losing their homes and businesses, which will happen by next year at the latest, only then will they bring out the pitchforks and torches.
You know, you say that. I'd recommend a movie called 99 Homes. I think it's about 2010, 2009. It's about the 2008 mortgage collapse in Florida with Michael Shannon, who I'm not really a fan of, but this is his best movie. It's about a real estate broker who he forecloses on homes and takes them with the help of the bank. And if you recall, in 2008, especially in Florida, the banks had bundled all of these people's mortgages. They weren't able to provide the paperwork for the court that they actually owned the homes, and they had them evicted from all of their homes all through the state of Florida. This happened nationwide, but particularly in the state of Florida. The courts were so backed up, and they didn't require any paperwork to prove the ownerships by the bank. They simply took the bank's word for it, and evicted people physically with a sheriff's team of deputies. Oh, no, dude. Watch 99 Homes. It's a feature film. It's not a documentary, but it's based on some guy who must have been doing this as a real estate guy, because it's so in the weeds of how this was done. I've been meaning to watch it for years, and I finally watched it last week. Absolutely fascinating film, 99 Homes. If you have a home, if you have a mortgage, and you're interested in this particular thing, watch this film, because it's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. They screwed over. It was a complete breakdown of law.
Yep, I lost you here.
Disturb is gone.
Whoop. I think he's got phone calls coming through here. Let me see. Wells Mortensen. People no longer know how to man pitchforks proper. And Big Bad Teddy sent a few bucks to keep us going. Thank you. Thank you very much. And while we get Mark back, Pasha. Today is turning out to be an episode of America's Untold Vignettes. How great this is. It's like a set of bonus Tuesdays. Hear you.
Oh, okay. Get that thing off the screen. Take that down for 1 second. That big, yeah, because I need to get. Oh, maybe not. It's got to be. Oh, this is what I want. Sorry. Thank you.
The phone is
no,
small
I'm
for
working
the
on
fingers.
my phone here, so I mean everything's tiny. That
sure, I know.
Thing was covering up the camera thing, and then the do not disturb thing is worn out. So now cats are calling me.
Right. No, I had that happen last week. So believe me, I understand. I was on the phone trying to do super chats though.
Right.
Let me see. Mark should get in.
Let me tell you something. If these fucking people don't stop calling me, don't ever try to buy a car, people, because every single car person in America will call you nonstop, thinking that you're going to pick up the phone and go, "Oh yeah, I'm going to buy that car for you. Thank you for calling me nonstop, 3 o'clock in the morning, you piece of shit." From Glendale, Toyota, whatever the fuck it was. I'm sorry. Go on.
They're desperate, man.
Yeah.
Mark should get in 24 as a Republican so as to save the country. Run for office against Adam Schiff. Why? That would be like Viva Fry running in as a People's Party candidate in his riding and getting what, 3% of the vote.
I think that the professor, the black professor, is running on the Peace and Freedom Party ticket.
Cornel West, yeah.
Cornel West. Okay. In 1996, it had to be, I don't know, whatever 2 years before Timothy Leary died. And if he died in 98, it was 96. If he died in 96, it was 94. Somebody came to me from the Peace and Freedom Party and asked me if I wanted to be the VP candidate on a Timothy Leary ticket for the Peace and Freedom Party. So I said, "Is there money to campaign?" And they said, "No." And I said, "Well, how do I campaign?" They go, "You have to pay for yourself." And I said, I'm going to pass on that. And so I just want to put that out there for the Peace and Freedom Party voter.
Well, you were also supposed to run for coroner, right?
Yeah, but that was in Greene County in upstate New York when I was like, I don't know, 23 or something. This was in the late 90s with Timothy Leary. And I mean, I knew Leary, but not that well. I mean, I hung out with Leary. He lived in Hollywood, and then he died or whatever. But I thought, what a weird ticket, Timothy Leary and myself on the Peace and Freedom Party.
Yeah, why not? Sir Lawrence, watching the show from the Mount Everest base camp. The Sherpas won't leave now until the show's over. They love a good raconteur.
That's funny. What debate?
No.
I think Biden is taking over the national parks. By the way, he was being interviewed at the Grand Canyon the other day and told the Weather Channel chick that he had issued an executive order making climate change an emergency, and she said, "Well,
God.
it's news to me." And of course, he just made it up. And they had to walk it back afterwards. He was just rambling on at the Grand Canyon about the orders that he hadn't made up yet. So maybe he wants to.
Who knows? I called Anne after the movie had been cast, and she was absolutely horrified. On
I
Team
called
McCord.
Anne after the movie. Anne who and what movie?
I'm not sure. I mean, it obviously came in much earlier, so.
I called Anne. These are, these things are like haikus or fortune cookie things we're getting sometimes. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to figure it out.
Well, some of it is because I can't pull it in exactly when we're talking because there's just too much going on. So it's probably out of context for the show, though.
No, I know it's out of context. I get it, but I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Luke Bernard, the guy doing the Holocaust Museum in Fortnite, is going to be on Biggest Problem in the Universe at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Should be interesting. Okay.
I don't know who any of these people are, but I'm sure it's of great interest.
Yeah, people here like it. Thank you, though.
Right? No, I don't know.
Alex Davey did.
I'm just saying I don't know.
Oh yeah, love your contrarian views, like on General LeMay. The USA did nothing wrong fighting World War II. Keep up the good work from your Uncle Bob from Vegas. Bios need to be accurate.
I don't know where the revisionists are when we were losing World War II for the first 3 years of the war. I don't remember hearing, this is great, we're losing the war for 3 years. It only happens when we turn it around and win the freaking war. They go, dude, we're too harsh. We're just too harsh. I mean, you should have won the war a little bit fairer than that. We were losing the freaking war, people. I mean, people forget this was not going well until the Nazis in Stalingrad, and then when we took these islands of Tarawa and Iwo Jima and the other islands, this was touch and go. This was touch and go. But people don't know that. All they do is criticize, revisionist stuff from so long ago. I said in one of these shows we did, 85% of the American people supported the bombing of Hiroshima. Well, that means everybody in America was a scumbag. Really? Really? 85 million voted for Trump. Really? All of them were scumbags? All of them were? I mean, have some common logic, people. There are different points of view in different periods of American history when different things were popular or unpopular. Not that bombing Nagasaki or Hiroshima was a popularity contest, but the American people were behind this. This is what they wanted to end the war. And you go, well, it didn't end the war. Really? I don't remember the war going into September.
Yeah, it's Ziggy, have you got your tickets for Montgomery meetup? Be there or be square. AUS rocks. That's right. Hope to see a lot of you in Montgomery.
For the Sunday show, we'll see her. Yeah. Not the Saturday show, which is well.
Lady Freddie, Biden out, Gavin steps in. Could RFK write in for Cali governor?
Barnes had suggested this previously about it. He didn't want to do that. I mean, this was the previous election. Someone has suggested that. And then this Michael Schellenberger showed up, and he's a sketchy cat. He started running, and that, of course, guaranteed the recall failed because Schellenberger. Yep. Yeah. Everybody forgets that quickly, how he was on the ropes, punch drunk, going down, rope-a-dope, and then all of a sudden Schellenberger and some others come in, and they said that Larry Elder was the blackface of white supremacy on the front page of the LA Times, and the rest is history. The point of the matter is, I'd like to know physically, again, pragmatically, realpolitik, how Gavin Newsom replaces Joe Biden. I'd like to know that. I don't know how it can happen. I'd like to know that.
I think that there was a weird theory. I don't know if it would happen, and it's pie in the sky stuff. It'd be Biden gets nominated at the convention, goes on, and then weeks later or something, suddenly he has to step back for whatever reason. And because it's in an upheaval state, they shuffle things around, and all of a sudden Kamala comes in.
Okay, so
or not Kamala, but or Gavin comes in.
You stumbled onto some of it with the superdelegates. Now, the superdelegates could do that. I guess in a post-convention world, I mean, where does this happen? Online or something? Where, you know what I mean? Right. Again, he's not going to be on the primary ballots. Okay, that's out. That's out. Newsom is not going to be on the, this is just my theory. I could be completely wrong. But Newsom is not going to be on the South Carolina primary ballot. Okay, that's out. Then you go to Iowa, not on there. Then you go to New Hampshire, not on there. So at some point in the primary season, if Biden steps down, somebody has got to get on these ballots. Okay, that's not so easy. That's not so easy. But somebody's got to vote for this guy, is what I'm saying.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how.
I don't understand. And again, this, it's conspiratorially fun to talk about, but what are the physics of it? How does it physically happen? That's all I care about. That's all I care about. If anybody's got an answer for that, please put it up in the chat, because I don't know how he gets, like RFK, I don't know how Newsom gets from point A to point B. Now, that being said, between now and then, if Biden dies or bails out, it's wide open. It's 1968. It's LBJ again, saying I'm not going to run, nor will I accept the nomination of my party for my reelection. Fine, and it's wide open catfight. Everybody goes. But other than that, I don't know what the deal is, other than he's sowing the seeds for his 2028 run.
Right. Maybe he's running for Secretary of State. Or something.
He doesn't have to do any of that shit. He doesn't have to do any of that shit to run for. He could just be Newsom without a job. Somebody's going to appoint him to something, Eric. He's a freaking governor of California for 2 terms. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to run for president to get a Secretary of State job, nor does he probably want it, because. Or
maybe he's just building his profile, and he's going to do it over the next 6 years. Yeah. Like, just keep building, and be a national figure who has something to say about everything. And
the same could be said for DeSantis too. But what DeSantis has done is alienate every freaking Trump voter in America to hate his guts. Not easy to do, but DeSantis has achieved that greatness.
Well, partly by filing to run.
Well,
Gavin hasn't filed, right?
How about the nonstop attacks on Trump, which could have been coming out of the mouth of Newsom, could have been coming out of Newsom's mouth. Newsom is not criticizing Joe Biden, by the way, and either is RFK Jr., you'll notice.
Oh, yeah.
Right. There's no criticism by RFK Jr. I mean, he mentioned the Hunter Biden scandal because he was forced to do it. But no mention, like I said before, of the indictments of Trump. For the love of justice, your father was the Attorney General of the United States, for Christ's sakes. The job that Merrick Garland is now abusing, at least for the sake of history and your father's legacy, say something about Merrick Garland and this Justice Department. It doesn't mean that you can't run for the Democratic nomination. Good luck with that anyway. But history is going to remember this.
Totally agree. All right, we got a bunch of super chats. You guys are super generous.
I'm not going to interrupt you anymore. I'm sorry.
That's fine. You're working with the audience. I'm glad I found Mark recently. He's like Stanhope's cooler-based older brother.
Who's Stanhope?
Doug Stanhope. Yeah, comedian.
I never kind of got it. I never saw the guy. I know.
He's all right. He's a bit edgier though. He's not bad.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the Edmund Fitzgerald? Ever researched shipwrecks?
I don't know. The Titanic went down. What am I supposed to talk about shipwrecks? Good song though. It's a great song.
Beautiful song, and great artist. I usually joke around, but all you guys do is great stuff. Always a fun show. Keep on rocking.
Who is that?
Cheers. This is Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist is awesome. Bob Bennett, can't wait till you can do an untold stories about the pandemic and the whole Ukraine stuff. Thanks. Well, yeah, the second we do that, then we'll get completely demonetized and the channel shuts down. So let's wait a few more years until they, just
well, we don't know the end of the story. We don't know how it ends. So, it's still going on. True. I like my stories to have an ending.
Good point. Rage and Raven, you guys are great and make Friday nights in Germany tolerable. Thank you. Thank you, Germany.
That was my goal growing up as a kid. When I was 13, I was reading about the Nazis. I go, if only I could make Friday nights in Germany tolerable, I will have achieved something. Thanks, bro. Thank you. I'm only kidding.
Hail Boggs, plane crash, 1972, Alaska.
We could. You know what? There's not much there. I know it's everybody's fun and speculation, but there's just not much there to get my hands on. I don't know. I mean, look, is that a way you got to kill a guy by fixing a plane? I mean, it doesn't seem American. It seems Russian.
It's tough to prove.
Yeah, it sounds Russian to me. I mean, not that the Russians did it, but it's something that they did over there more than what we do here. Although Ron, what's his name that Barnes always talks about, the Treasury Secretary.
The Clinton guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
All right. Booker Doc said not financially, technically. So I was wrong. Okay. So
I thought so. Right. That's what I thought he was saying. So you can make little ones, you know, like the guy does with the $2 ones.
No, he meant he wasn't all the way there, opinion wise, I guess.
Sorry.
Let me see. Oh, thank God you guys are on. I don't know why I don't like going out anymore. I feel so much better now that I have you guys to watch.
Thank you. You know, I went to this concert last night at the Greek, and it's so rough to be in a crowd now. It's not age. It's more like there's just freaks out there. I mean, freaks. These two broads are sitting in back of me, and I'm watching this art. There's two women I wanted to see, Amy Mann and then Regina Spektor, who is unbelievable. And so, you know, I'm watching this thing with Amy Mann, and these two chicks are sitting in back of us drinking wine, talking like they're in their own kitchen, out loud. And I don't know what to say. You know, I don't know what to do. I can't even hear the lyrics of the girls singing on stage because these two women in back of me are talking like they're in their own kitchen, drinking wine. So I said, let me come up with something funny, and maybe that'll diffuse it without, you know, being an ogre. And I turned around and I said, can you speak a little louder? I can't follow your story. And they both laughed and they got it. You know, I was lucky to get out of it. And then on the intermission, they laughed and said, you want to hear the end of the story? And I said, no, not particularly. But it's a clusterfuck of problems to go to an event these days. I mean, holy cow. I mean, the problems involved with the physics of outdoor events or indoor, whatever, these gatherings are large. Let me put it that way.
For sure.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Tim Anderson, Jose Ramirez fight?
I don't know enough about it. I should, but I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. I take that back. Tim Anderson has been a cunt for years. He has discredited the game. And go back to that question. I want to see that again.
It's gone. I mean,
what do you mean it's gone? That's when it going out of space. The fight was a righteous fight because this guy Anderson's a punk. This is a black dude on the White Sox who does not play the game the right way. And somebody finally stood up to him, a good player. And there was a big fight, you know, the two of them. And hopefully it'll focus something on Tim Anderson. I'm not an American League fan, and I don't know what's going on over there between these two teams. I'm sure in the Central there's a rivalry, but I know that Anderson has not been playing the game the right way for a number of years. That's all I'll say on that fight.
All right.
I'm into things that dude, I'm so spread out in weird subjects. No wonder I can't find any free time to do anything.
Instead of an election, it should be a Trump v. Biden celebrity death match.
In wheelchairs with mud, so you roll around, and that would be interesting. I don't know. Look, they're not going to debate. He's not going to debate this guy. The longer that these midgets are running around the ring, the more Biden enjoys the fact that he's not under the microscope. It makes sense. It's perfectly rational what they're doing, the Biden people. They want hundreds of people to run for office against Trump, hundreds of people to get in and take up the communication vacuum of noise that the media will cover something Tim Scott said about the Boy Scouts or some shit. Anything to take up and run out the clock. That's what they're attempting to do. It's a four corners run out. I don't know if you could still do that in basketball, but in the old basketball in college, you go to these four corner things, right? You college basketball fans out there? That's what they're trying to do. Run out the clock, and eventually they put the clock in college basketball, which was kind of shocking. But I guess they had figured out a way through zone defenses and running out the clock that college basketball was being abused. That's what Biden is doing in this election. He wants anything every day he could cross off that calendar where he doesn't have to deal with Trump one-on-one is a great day for Joe Biden.
All right. What about Matt Gaetz' idea of bringing Trump to Congress and giving him immunity?
I would do that in a second. I don't care. That's a great idea. Anything that puts Trump in the limelight, great idea. Let him go. I don't care. anything that they're forced to cover him on with that immunity, whatever, testify under oath about the election being stolen. Matt Gaetz, let the Democrats ask their questions. They made fools of themselves with the Robert Kennedy censorship hearings. Let them ask questions. You know, putting up that video, I saw a show with Jimmy Dore, and he had Brett Weinstein on, and it was a surgeon, a young gay surgeon who does all the different vaginoplasties for kids who are transgendering and all that stuff. That's his specialty. And he made a little 8-minute video. And one of the Democratic congressmen said, I watched the video. I don't want it shown. I want it censored before this committee at this time because I didn't understand the video. So Jimmy Dore had a field day with that. But the reality of it is they showed the video of this guy, a surgeon. You know, he's a gay surgeon talking about mutilating children. And he says there's no studies of what I'm doing. I'm winging it, you know, basically in the video. So the Democrats just got up and walked out, you know, because they're showing the video. Good. Make them walk out. Show the world who they are. You're not going to show the world by just having editorials in newspapers. You have to visually show it on TV. Just my opinion.
Good point. Super conversation. Mark, I want to have your baby, symbolically speaking.
Oh, I don't know what that means, but...
A big fan. How about a show on John Milius?
You know, it's interesting about Milius. I'm not a big fan of Milius. I mean, I'm not a big fan of his writing. I never have been. I don't dislike Milius. I just thought he's just not a great writer. I'm not a big fan of Conan the Barbarian starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Red Dawn does not hold up, dude.
What's that?
The original Red Dawn does not hold up. We
were
watching it was like,
you know, he's like a B-level writer, you know, despite Barnes's love affair with the cat and other friends of mine. You know, he's involved in Apocalypse Now, but other than that, if you look at some of the other movies he's involved in, I mean, you know, he's a B-level guy. Politically, he's great. You know, he is what he is. He's had a stroke now, and he's writing with a pencil in his mouth. So, unbelievable, heroic story on John Milius. But,
for sure.
You know, he is what he is.
And
that's Amanda Milius's father, for people who don't know that.
Great Friday, fellas. Thanks. Thoughts on Victor Davis Hanson?
Okay. You know, I love Victor Davis Hanson. He's always late to the party. It always takes him like 6 months to a year to get up to speed on things. He was pro-vaccine, then he wasn't. You know, I mean, he's that guy. At the end of the day, it's great to read him. I read him all the time. I'm not perfectly aligned with him. He's just not quick enough for me. But who am I to say, you know, what's quick and what's not quick? At the end of the day, it's a great writer, great read. He gets it. He knows that the Marxists are on the move, and that's all that matters to me.
All right. Al Gonzalez, when I was 11 years old, my dad took me to a George Wallace Curtis LeMay rally in Jersey City where both addressed a huge crowd. It was amazing. They verbally threatened a large crowd of hippies who were heckling them. Oh,
you know,
that would be great to see.
Yeah, the LeMay, not the LeMay, the Wallace public appearances are amazing. I mean, if you ever get a chance to see any of them on video, check out they were throwing tomatoes at Wallace and he was giving them as good as he got. They're fascinating attempts of public appearances and entertainment. Let me just put it that way.
Wow. Jane Mansfield, Doak Walker, Matthew Strapper, John Hinckley, and myself all went to the same high school.
At the same time? That's kind of
I don't think so, but interesting. Just me. Honestly, I'm in the Hudson Valley area and I'm Gen X and I don't know anyone that doesn't want Trump to win except my dad. Oi.
No, the Hudson Valley is a Trump stronghold and has always been like a red stronghold up there, even though I went to Bard, which is in the Hudson Valley. Is this guy, what's the guy's name? Justin? What's it say?
Just me. Just
me.
I
thought it was a name. I'm sorry. I lived up there. I mean, I lived in Annandale, you know, for a number of years, and I lived across the way near Saugerties in Ulster County. That's Dutchess County where he is. We did an episode on G. Gordon Liddy, who was the assistant district attorney of Dutchess County. If you want to take a look at it, but the politics were red then and still are for Trump up there.
Wow, amazing. Fred Woodard, We're doing an entire series on this, so you might want to check it out.
On this. Tonight after the show, I'm going to look into this because this is something. It's really coming down to who didn't want to kill him.
No kidding. Patrick Washburn, missed opportunity. Mark, at any Amy Mann concert, when someone is talking, you should turn around and say, "Hush, hush, keep it down now."
Hush, hush, keep it down. It doesn't seem to roll off my tongue that well. Hush, hush, keep it down now. It's maybe something Amy Mann would say. You're right.
Rich Buddy, are we being duped? Is Ukraine a Nazi state? Is another Operation Paperclip going on? Piers Morgan interviewed Ukrainian Roseanne Barr, and she said so. Oh, yeah, Ukrainian. I did not know Roseanne Barr was Ukrainian and lost her family. Mm-hmm. And she had really dark things to say about the World War II regime who stuck around in Ukraine.
The Bandera regime are full Nazis, and that's just the way it is, folks. I mean, the reason the Russians do not like those Ukrainians is because of the Bandera people who killed them, flat out, and there's Banderaites in and running Zelensky's regime. Zelensky is the top of a Nazi regime. No matter what anybody tells you, Zelensky is a Nazi. We go, well, he's Jewish, man. I don't give a shit that he's Jewish. Who cares?
So is George Soros.
Right. So is George Soros. Who gives a shit? The reality of it is that the people around Zelensky are Nazis. They're neo-Nazis. They're part of the Bandera machine. Bandera was one of the Nazis who fought against the Soviets in World War II. And we're backing Nazis, like it or not. I mean, that's the reality of where we are. Your tax dollars are going to the Nazis. Try that hat on.
All right, let me go through these last 4 Rumble rants here. I Care 22. Mark, would you accept a speaking engagement with Turning Point USA?
I don't know. I guess so. It sounds like a gig. Is there money in it? Or what's the gig?
No, it's a big deal. But I mean, I'm sure if Turning Point USA reached out, and if you're tied to them, reach out to me. I will get it to Mark. And
I'll go anywhere, any place, anytime to attack the Marxist invasion of the United States. It's the least I could do. It's the least I could do. I don't know how well it would be received, but I don't mind doing that.
All right. PGA Spar 730. I appreciate your no BS approach to your subjects and opinions. I feel I could shoot the shit with both of you anytime. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I Care 22.
Come down to Montgomery. We'll be shooting the shit.
Very true. I Care 22. Again, Mark, you smell corruption, perhaps of your exposure in Hollywood. Take it further.
It's not even in Hollywood. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn. My grandfather was part of the Meade Democratic machine. There was corruption back there. My grandfather ran as he was a campaign manager to Impellitteri, who was an anti-corruption mayor, an independent mayor who ran New York City for one term. My grandfather was his campaign manager. So I grew up in that household of anti-corruption. But I could smell it a mile away because I've seen these people that were around my grandfather back in the old days, and they were corrupt politicians. And my grandfather taught me. I didn't just learn it. He said, this is a guy who's corrupt. And I studied those guys as a kid. And Impellitteri, who was a one-off independent mayor in New York, was a guy that my grandfather worked with. And look, it is what it is. I mean, I was an investigative reporter for this newspaper out here for about 15 years. And you get the sense that you could smell, not corruption, but you quickly smell sleazy people. That's easy.
Oh, for sure. Last Rumble rant from I Care 22. Again, if you care about it, Mark, what are you actively doing about this red communist takeover?
What do you want me to do, bro? What would you like? What did you say? What was that?
They've been aware of it for years. He's getting the word out. We're talking about it. That's what we're doing.
I mean, I have a long body of work. I've written stuff. I mean, I've written scripts. I've had movies made. I don't know. I'm doing this now. I mean, I'm only one freaking guy in my underwear. I mean, what else do you want me to do, bro? What else do you want me? You tell me.
I wouldn't even. It is what you're. It's what it is. All right. Last 2 tips from locals. William Friedkin is gone. Thoughts?
Overrated. I mean, look, he threw a camera down the stairs in The Exorcist. That was, I think he stole that from Eisenstein, the Russian filmmaker. I recently watched The Exorcist again. It's pretty good. It's 10 times better than Interview with a Vampire, put it that way. But
yeah. I was gonna say Exorcist was genuinely a scary movie.
Yeah. But I didn't dislike Friedkin. I just thought he was highly opinionated.
All right. JJC Noel sent a tip. What about a Trump RFK Jr. presidential VP team? What does RFK Jr. get to lose? He's already said no.
He's already said no. Why you keep bringing it up? I mean, it's brought up for fodder, but he's not a Republican. He's not going to be a guy that you would have just to kick it. I mean, why would you want a guy who's going to run around and undermine you everywhere? The insurance that Barnes talked about, which is really funny, the anti-assassination insurance, which Trump should take out, is to bring Alex Jones as your vice president.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Brilliant by Barnes. Then no one's going to shoot you because you get Alex Jones, right?
No, you would have assassins lining up to take the bullet.
Right. With RFK, they go, all right, we'll take our chances with a Democrat replacing a Republican in the Republican Party. Let's shoot Trump immediately, and let's see what RFK does.
Well, now you know why Biden picked Kamala.
Exactly. But if you had Alex Jones as vice president, they would roll out the red carpet for Trump. Is everything okay? Is the food okay?
How's your health?
Yeah, how's your health? You feeling good? Come on, champ. You can do this. Come on.
You feel a little warm. Be careful now. Here, sit down. Here's a chair.
We brought in 5 extra doctors just to have another physical. Come on, you can make it.
All right, Mark, do you the story of Bing Russell and the Portland Mavericks? Kurt Russell's father.
That's a great story. That's I forgot the name of the movie. Battered Bastards of Baseball. Great documentary. The Battered Bastards, I think it's called. It's about a Portland independent league team run by Kurt Russell's father, who owned the team. Kurt Russell played organized baseball. He was a second baseman. Pretty damn good ball player, Kurt Russell. Could have gone pro. The movie's great. Highly recommended.
Yeah, I think he had an injury or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Kurt Russell, but his father owned that team. He played on it.
Huh. Very, very cool. All right, Neil Hirsch, A111110. Is this the real reason JFK killed same as Lincoln on greenbacks? I don't understand what that means.
Sorry. I don't understand. Wait. The guy gave a super chat. We got to try to figure this out. What does it say? EO410. EO41 and a 0. Isn't this the real reason JFK killed? Same as Lincoln on greenbacks. It sounds like a financial thing or something. I don't know what EO. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that on greenback. Something on the bill, on the dollar bill or something.
I don't know.
Does this involve Masons?
Executive order. There it is. Amendment of. Okay, here we go. Executive order 11110. Amendment of Executive Order number 10289 of September 19th, 1951, as amended, relating to the performance of certain functions affecting the Department of the Treasury. It was issued by JFK in June 1963. And it is delegating, okay, here we go. It's delegating to the Secretary of the Treasury the President's authority to issue silver certificates under the Thomas Amendment. It's a financial thing, and I'm not familiar with all that, but it sounds like a gold standard, silver standard, one of those things.
Well, I'll only point out that the Secretary of the Treasury, a guy who wanted that job really badly, eventually got it, switched parties, and his name was John Connolly.
Yeah. So I'm not denying there could be something to that question. Yeah. Buddy Holly plane crash, mob related to stop rock and roll?
That's funny. The mob made so much money off rock and roll. That would be like shooting yourself in the foot. That's insane.
I know.
Nobody made more money off the mob, off music than the mob.
And then they managed to build a weather machine.
What?
No, I'm just saying they made too much money off of rock and roll, so that would be crazy. And then what, did they build a weather machine? I mean, how'd they do it? Because they had horrible weather, right? I think.
Yeah. I don't know about that. But I mean, the same thing happened to, Stevie Ray Vaughan in a helicopter, happened to Bill Graham, the rock promoter, in a helicopter. I mean,
Ozzy's got Randy Rhoads, didn't he?
If you fly a lot as for a career, chances are eventually something's going to happen that it may or may not lead to your demise. But just by the simple sheer volume of these cats, how much they fly in small planes, I got to make the gig, bro. I got to make the gig. Lenny Bruce did a whole routine about it. He was doing a gig in Miami for a lot of money, bad weather, flights canceled. And he said, he wasn't even kidding. He said, I'm going to rent a plane out of Connecticut, fly over Miami, and parachute out. And they said, you can't do that. And he goes, why? And he says, well, you never did it before. And he goes, well, the first guy who did it never did it before. And he parachuted out. Just fly me over Miami. It's not your problem. I got to make this gig. And he went into a whole routine, Lenny. Eventually took the train for like 20, I think the gig might have been in New York, not Miami, but like a 20-hour train trip through in the winter from Boston to New York. But he made the gig by this, you want to go on the train. But the funny bit of flying was about parachuting out was really hilarious.
All right. Scott H. Mark will strategize in Montgomery.
Yes.
Awesome.
We'll sit down. So I want to get into see if there's anybody there who's got some ideas on what to do and how we move forward. I'm not even kidding. I mean, if you've got ideas, bring them with you, bro. Bring them with you. Somebody bring a freaking whiteboard. We can fucking figure this thing out.
Ziggy?
At every meetup, I'm serious. I want to meet up with people at these meetups who have freaking ideas. Not this can't work because of blah, blah. Don't bring me this can't work crap. We know what can't work. We want to see what can work. So if you've got ideas, come to Montgomery, bring your ideas of how we fight back against the Marxists. For the love of God, get off your fat ass and do something. The least you can do is come down and we'll strategize on what to do here. I mean, we don't need negative people coming down telling us why we can't do it. We need some ideas of how we can do it and what we can do. So if that helps anybody, we'll see you down there, in Labor Day.
All right. Boo Boo Bing Bing or Bing Bang. Love your work, lads, from the real AUS.
What is that? A from Australia?
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
Oz. AUS is Australia. AUS is our show. AUS is Australia.
That's funny. I mean, LBJ might have killed their prime minister for all we know. He did drown.
Maybe. But that's super generous, by the way. Thank you very much, Boo Boo.
Thank you, bro. I mean, I don't know if his prime minister drowned or what happened to them down there. They never even found his body, for Christ's sakes.
I don't know. Remember the Holodomor? I cannot say. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. Holodomor. Holodomor.
I don't know.
HLOODOMOR.
Ask these people in the chat. They're just sitting there. They know the answer to this thing. What are those people?
Anyway, somebody posted an RFK, Trump JFK Jr. ticket meme on Facebook. How about that?
What is it? Trump? We just went over that, didn't we?
JFK Jr., not RFK Jr.
Oh, I see. Trying to be a wise guy, huh? I get you. Dead men tell no tales.
All right, last super chat. Last super chat, folks. Oswald's coming in on here.
Wait, let me read the super chat. It's too small.
I am
to read.
Watching from Tupelo, Mississippi. Y'all make it up to North Mississippi. I'll buy you all both a steak and a beer.
Let me tell you something. Tupelo is obviously, I'll just say this. Riley Keough has named her baby Tupelo after her descendant, Elvis Presley. And the baby is named for Elvis from Tupelo, Mississippi. It's a shout out to this guy from Tupelo. Riley Keough is an actress, a very good actress who just bought a baby. I think she bought one. A lot of these actresses don't want to have babies, so they buy them, with surrogates or whatever. So she got a baby somehow and is named it Tupelo in honor of Elvis Presley.
All right. Oops, sorry. Anyway, yeah, she inherited quite the estate too. She just settled it with her grandmother.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's loaded. And she's a good actress. I got to give her. I got to give her some credit.
Okay.
And I've been to Tupelo. It's a great town.
Cool. I Care 22. One more Rumble rant, last Rumble rant, Turning Point USA speaker. So I guess he's saying that's how you change it. You become a Turning Point USA speaker. I'm
Okay.
sure they reach out. You know,
Yeah, I'm sure the revolution is coming out of that seminar.
I think Trump has worked with Turning Point, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Chinese kidnapped our Prime Minister Harold Holt with a submarine.
It could very well be. I don't know what happened to Harold Holt. I mean, I know he was a heavy drinker because he kept up the drinking with LBJ, and very few people could drink at that pace. And he was a drinking buddy, quote unquote, with LBJ when he visited the White House and vice versa. Now, LBJ did not have a good time when he went down there in the Deathmobile. They were pelted with paint, balloons, and vegetables, and he was not happy about it, LBJ. He may have blamed Holt for this reception that he got from anti-war Australians. And maybe that's what led to Holt's demise. I'm not really sure. But I don't know if Holt was a good swimmer. He swam every day, apparently, in that same spot. And maybe he lifted up an explosive seashell.
And the super chats keep coming in. Bam Investor. I just walked by a guy and he looked exactly like Robert Kennedy. As a joke, I said, good luck in the election. He looked at me right in the eye and said, thank you. Is he in San Francisco right now? If so, TRT works.
I don't know if he is, but I'll tell you something. I used to be mistaken for some guy who was on a one of those daily soap operas. Who knows who this guy is? A million of these guys, right? So I was walking along in the street in Manhattan one day. I used to get this all the time. I don't even know who the guy was. And these three black chicks come up and they go, oh my God, it's him. It's him. And I go, that's right, ladies. And he goes, what's going to happen? I go, he's going to die. And I go, how's he going to die? He's going to be killed in a surfing accident. I go, oh, Lord. And they're going crazy. I'm just making this up. And they're going nuts. I don't even know what I'm talking about. And they mistaken me for this character on some soap opera. And I'm just making up whatever. And they're like crying, oh, don't let him die. Why is he going to die? So I'll just give you that.
Just me. Yes, I'm coming. We the people. They work for us. They're fired.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. I wish. I wish.
All right. So on that note, we have Tuesday. We're not going to tell them who it is.
No, don't tell them. I'll tell you this right now. It's a political assassin. And we're going to get into it.
And it's going to be fantastic.
He may not be successful, but still a political assassin.
True.
Famous movie. A famous actor played this guy in a famous movie.
Yes. And then, yes, it was art imitating life. Art imitated life. We'll just say that. Remember to subscribe. Hope to see you on Locals. Unstructured.locals.com. And we will see you Tuesday.
Okay, that's fair. There shouldn't be a problem.